Part 1. About the fact that I unintentionally raised my sister to be a cripple. Author, Wo Bulletin 11 Huan Tiu Lan. Chapter 1. Ale, the address is Roppongi National Museum of Art, cafe on the second floor. Remember to bring your sister over on time at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I have something big to announce to you. Shinjuku, Tokyo. It's the second week in mid-April, a spring day with clear skies. The cherry blossom trees on the Kanda River stretch along both sides of the river, shading the paths along the banks. The pink cherry blossoms fall endlessly from the clear blue sky, and are so beautiful that they are beyond words. Sakaki Hara put away her cell phone, stepped on the cherry petals under her feet, walked among the crowd, and continued to pace slowly towards the station. He was curious about the text message his mother sent him. What on earth could she call a big deal? Speaking of important events, Sakakibara remembered that a month ago, he awakened a system, but this is not the point. The point is that he received a different kind of confession letter that afternoon. A black confession letter. As one of the top 5 students in the private high school of Akadeki, the leader of the National Kyoto District League, and a boy with a charm rating of 8, he was accustomed to such things as confession letters when he was in junior high school. But the black confession letter, which he had never seen before, successfully attracted his attention. The book cover is exquisitely packaged, the handwriting is graceful, and there is his favorite fragrance of lilies when he opens it. It simply got to his heart. However, although this is a confession letter, the content inside is extremely simple. A name, a social media handle. This is strange. Sakaki Hararaku could ignore those affectionate confessions and long and short love poems at will. After all, nothing was more important than studying. However, this letter, which was as short as a scam text message, aroused his curiosity. He added that contact information. Because of this, he met a girl named Ashiya Suzaku. Today is also one of the most important moments in life for me. The warm breeze of mid-April blows along the road lined with cherry blossoms, and the train passes through the Takari intersection. Dang dang dang. Amid the red flash and violent ringing of the siren, the level crossing lowered its railings, blocking someone's progress. Raku Sakaki Hara raised his head and stared at the Toten Arakawa line whizzing past in front of him. He didn't know what kind of magic power this girl, Ashiya Suzaku, had. But she was like a bull who fully understood her own thoughts. In just 5 days, the two of them became close friends who talked about everything. Regarding hobbies, studying for exams, and even the sweet tea, fruits and vegetables that he likes to eat, the other party can clearly tell the key points that he thinks are good, and comment appropriately to his heart. The first time I dated online, the first time I got a close friend, the first time I felt the urge to know more about a person of the opposite sex. And today at noon, she took the initiative to ask herself out to meet. For the first time, Sakaki Hararaku felt a sense of anticipation. As for the big thing, my mother said, let's wait until we meet each other. Listening to the ethereal jingle of the passing trains, you walk leisurely through the Takari intersection with a smile. Raku Sakaki Hara arrived at the station and waited on the platform with the crowded crowd. The phone received the message. Ashiya, where have you been? Sakaki Hara tapped the screen with 2 fingers and replied, just arrived at Uesda station. Ashiya, reserved smile emoticon, didn't you say you always wanted to see my photos? Since we are about to meet, it doesn't matter if I show you these, just wait a minute, I'll send you a photo. The gentle female prompt on the platform loudspeaker sounded, and the tram approaching from a distance came with the sound of grinding and rubbing against the rails. Sakakibara put down his cell phone and couldn't help but follow the gazes of everyone on the platform and look at the square head of the train. The phone suddenly rang twice. Ashiya, picture. Ashiya, picture. Just when Raku Sakaki Hara discovered the information on the lock screen and wanted to click on it to take a closer look. Sister, Be careful. Hey, wait a minute. His hand was suddenly pulled by a girl who had lost her footing. It fell to the ground with a clatter. Unfortunately, the phone jumped on the ground, once or twice, flying towards the tram track without any guardrails, and was hit head-on by the square-headed tram that broke through the wind. Sakakibara's hands froze in mid-air. Ah, as expected of my sister, she got into trouble again. Please stop talking. I'm very sorry. It's my fault. I didn't hurt you, right? The girl who regained her balance clasped her hands in front of her skirt and looked at Sakakibara's dull expression with an apologetic look on her delicate face. The roar of the tram still lingers in my ears. Raku Sakakihara looked helplessly at the train passing by in front of him, and the strong wind coming from his head ruffled his hair. This is the latest iPhone I bought after working for half a year. It's hard to say goodbye to the yellowed smartphone with buttons in the past. I plan to use this phone for 10 or 8 years, but it hasn't warmed up yet. Nowadays, the sky is far apart. Sakakibara put down his empty hand. There are no physical injuries. After all, the injuries are the mobile phone I spent more than half a year's work money to get, half a year of my life, half a year of 10 o'clock at night, and half a year of vacation. The tram stopped, and people started to move back and forth getting on and off the train. It's so miserable. Sister, what should you do now? I don't know either. I was careless just now. As expected of a sister, she can wrestle on flat ground. My fault. Sure enough, the sister who has made a mistake can only compensate by becoming her girlfriend. Do you want to commit yourself to her? Tianhaijuli Yulai turned around. But she only saw her sister holding the shoulder bag with both hands obediently, and her little face looking away. As expected, my sister was still angry. Helpless, her sister turned around again and looked at Sakakihara Raku, her face showing apology again. Sorry. The tram closed its door and drove away. The track in front of the platform became empty again, but Sakakihara Raku could no longer see his mobile phone, not even any fragments of corpses. So, how are we going to solve this problem, he said, staring at the empty tram tracks under the platform. I'm so sorry. I'll try my best to make it up to you. The girl bent down sincerely, and when she raised her head again, Sakakihara Raku, who looked towards the girl, could see her face clearly. He was stunned for a moment, almost subconsciously. The girl is wearing a sky blue dress. The facial features are exquisite and straight, with exposed snow shoulders, slender legs, under the delicate and slender eyebrows, sapphire blue eyes are smooth and bright, and the milky white skin is delicate and clean without any roughness. The breeze as the tram left caused her flaxen hair, as transparent as silk, to sway gently, blowing against her noble face like a lily. It reminds me of the brilliant cherry blossoms I saw on the bank of the Kanda River just now. Behind the girl, the younger sister stood upright holding a brown shoulder bag. Her hands were placed in front of her skirt. Her eyes were slightly darker than her elder sister's, and her expression was calmer. Twin sisters who can be called beautiful girls. Like a lady from a famous family, her upright demeanor and beauty that cannot be hidden even if she apologizes are definitely not a temperament that ordinary people can match. My sister noticed the way Sakakibara looked at her and thought he was a little strange. The girl moved to her sister's side and whispered over her shoulder. Sister, you'd better apologize many times, otherwise the other party will get angry and take you away and imprison you in the cellar as his girlfriend. Cellar. Sakakihara Raku failed to understand the girl's brain circuit. I know, I don't need you to remind Chiminjio. My sister raised her apologetic eyes again, looked at Sakakibara and nodded, sorry. Ignore the strange words my sister said, I will give you a new mobile phone, and please leave a contact information. I will do my best. Try to compensate for your losses. Then how do you plan to compensate? Sakakibara asked with straight eyes. This, the girl became anxious, and subconsciously put her hands on the small bag on her waist, trying to find something. Sister, you are so stupid. You knocked off your boyfriend's cell phone. How come he still has contact information? Although the mobile phone card is broken, Twitter and Line are all available, my sister replied while rummaging around. My boyfriend won't believe a female liar who knocked off his phone. What if you run away? Why wouldn't my boyfriend believe it? Ah, no. He is not my boyfriend. Chi Minjio, please stop talking. The elder sister took out her elder sister's dignity and slashed her forehead with a hand knife. I just ate a bag of potato chips you put in the refrigerator. How can I hold a grudge for so long? The younger sister, who was holding the bag in both hands, had no way to avoid it, so she could only bear the pain and take a small step back. Why should potato chips be kept in the refrigerator? Strange twins. Sakakibara sighed and said directly to the inquiring girl, do you have any cash? Just use this to pay. I don't want you to pay more compensation. The original price is fine. I just bought it yesterday. Because the girl was so close, she could clearly smell the fragrance of the person opposite her. Wearing a clean and refreshing long skirt also makes their bodies feel quite comfortable. There is cash, yes, but not much. Under Sakakibara's gaze, her sister's voice was low and her eyes were apologetic, but she still maintained a good attitude. Forget it, I don't want to embarrass you. Let's do this. The purchase price of the mobile phone is 122,800 yen, plus 8% consumption tax. Sakakihara paused for a second and coughed dryly, a total of 132,624 yen. If you don't believe it, I can show you the invoice when I purchased it. The younger sister covered her mouth from behind and said, sister's boyfriend, so fast. What's quick? My sister still had a plain little face, but she looked a little naughty. Ah, please don't pay attention to what I say. The elder sister ignored her younger sister's naughty words, a total of 0.132624 yen, right? Yes, Sakakibara returned his gaze and nodded lightly. My sister did not doubt whether the number he said was accurate. She opened the lavender bag on her waist and took out all the money inside. When he found that it was not enough, he went back and put the money together with his sister. With an apology in his eyes, he handed it to Sakakibara Raku with both hands. The total amount here is 100,000 yen. My sister and I must leave some change for the remaining 30,000 yen on the road. Please leave your contact information and I will repay you one by one. Raku Sakakihara stood there, holding 10 brand new 10,000 yen bills between his fingers. Tiny uneven lines traced across the fingertips, smelling like money and ink. The girl took out 100,000 yen casually, as if she had taken it out of a bank. She really came from a wealthy family. Sakakibara couldn't help but think of the days when he would pick up a dozen vending machines for a 50 yen steel coin. Sure enough, they are people from two worlds. How about this? Seemingly thinking that Raku Sakakihara, who was silent, was still worried, her sister came up with an idea. She fumbled around in her bright purple waist bag for a while, took out a student ID card, stretched out her delicate hands and handed it to Raku Sakakibara. This is for you. If I don't keep my promise, you can come to the school to find me. I just entered school yesterday. The girl turned around and took a note and marker handed over by her sister, and wrote 2 numbers on it. This is my phone number and line account. You can also contact me through this. Sakakihara Raku took the scented note and glanced at the Zhuangzi font on the top. There seemed to be some scent left on the paper. The writing is also elegant and elegant. Then let's do this. Sakakihara put the note back in his trouser pocket and accepted the plan. I'm really sorry, my sister bowed and apologized again. It's nothing. As long as a reasonable apology and compensation are made, everything can be treated as if it never happened. After the girl apologized twice more, Sakakihara did not choose to embarrass them. After all, he had to rush for time. "Sister, how about I go to Dad's place alone, and you stay here until 7, bright, moon." They are really enemies and sisters. Sakakihara watched them leave the station. After all, they are just passers-by in life. "We have arrived in front of Prince Station, we have arrived in front of Prince Station." Holding the handrail, Raku Sakakihara stood on the Toten Arakawa line carriage, his body swaying slightly with the train. He was holding the tram ring in one hand, and in the other hand he was holding the student ID card that the girl had handed to him just now, with a note with a phone number and line on it between his middle finger and index finger. The two sisters just now left a deep impression on him. He had never seen such beautiful twins in real life. Pulling open the hard leather cover of the student ID card with his thumb, Sakakibara glanced at the girl's profile picture on the ID card. The facial features are exactly the same as before. Girls in Tokyo who don't wear makeup are really a minority among the minority. Skin that is as icy as snow and clothes that are cloudy and fresh probably describes this kind of person. He glanced at the black font on the side again and muttered. The first year of Tianhaijuli Yuliming Junior High School is actually from the same school, but why don't I have any impression? Transfer student. Tianhaijuli Yuli's student ID card / About the fact that I unintentionally raised my sister to be a cripple. Author, Wo Bulletin 11 Huan Tou Lan. Chapter 2. Looking at the transparent font that gradually dimmed again in front of him, Sakakihara tried to revive the interface, but it was just like a month ago, nothing happened. "We'll have to wait another day." He was not surprised by this result. He had been waiting for it for a month, so how could he care about this day anymore? Putting Tianhaijuli Yuli's student ID card together in his hand and putting it into his trouser pocket, he raised his head and looked out the window of the tram at the city scenery that was gradually fading away. My thoughts drifted into the distance among the lush cherry blossom trees. He died at the age of 18 and was reborn in a small family in rural Japan. My father is a dishonest country man, but my mother is a famous and beautiful girl in the village. In the countryside, because he always wanted to work in the big city, his parents took him and his sister to Tokyo to work 10 years ago. The mother became a restaurant waitress and the father continued his job as a maintenance electrician. Although the family of 4 has no money or status in Tokyo, they are still doing well. My father has never gotten rid of his drinking habit. He always likes to get drunk alone at night. When he comes home, the family always has trouble sleeping at night. He is neither a good nor a bad person. Hobbies include drinking, pachinko, and horse racing. My favorite thing is drinking. Even if he only had 500 yen left in his trouser pocket, he would still spend it all and run out to buy a can of beer. He even borrowed the 500 yen pocket money his mother gave the brother and sister under the pretext that children don't need pocket money. At that time, the father patted his chest and vowed to the 2 brothers and sisters, "I will give you 1,000 yen to buy takoyaki tomorrow." But pachinko wouldn't reason with him. The 1,000 yen is gone, and so is the takoyaki. That night when his mother went out to look for him, he even bought the rice balls for dinner with the coins he took out from under the vending machine with a wooden stick. When I went to work the next day, I had to take a few hundred yen from my 5-year-old daughter's hand for lunch. His colleagues all laughed at him for having to live off his daughter who never even went to kindergarten. Sigh. I don't know if it's because my father has been unlucky all his life. Who could have expected that just 2 months later, he would encounter something that ordinary people would never encounter in their lifetime. It was mid-July and he had just received his salary. When he was passing by the racecourse, he heard the enthusiastic horse racing commentary inside. He got angry and did something that he had not dared to do in 10 years of horse racing. Put 1 month's salary on the least favored horse. Destiny favored it, and it was an upset. He won a Grand Slam. God actually allowed him to win the horse race with his newly paid salary. A huge profit of 150 times 40 million yen. But this guy not only failed to share the money with his family members who were sharing the same hardship, but instead walked away with a huge amount of money. Disappeared without a trace. So far there has been no news. Sakaki Hararaku still remembers the 500 yen his father owed him and his sister. A dignified adult actually defrauded a child out of 500 yen. Even though Sakakibara prides himself on being calm and approachable, he can't stand this temper. However, this is all in the past. Now, he has his own goals, and has a new goal of making his family happy and living in a big house. Faced with this goal, I studied day and night and asked the teacher for advice day and night. He has never thought of himself as a protagonist in his life, because when he has to share a piece of tofu with his sister who eats more, what kind of bullshit protagonist is not as reliable as 500 yen in cash? In order to get rid of such a life, he retained his faith. Even after his family's financial situation improved a lot in junior high school, he was admitted to the best #1 high school in Tokyo. His goal in this life is to graduate from high school and then be admitted to the Department of Finance of Dongda University. It doesn't matter whether he works as a bank clerk or opens a company after he saves enough capital. As long as I can buy a big house that I can live in without the musty smell, that's fine. There are home appliances, the internet, and fans that squeak and spin without constant maintenance. The fan should be replaced by an air conditioner by then. Mom, Aling, and the family had a dinner in peace in the evening, laughing and talking about what happened during the day. This is the end of life. Since my father ran away and before my mother took up her current job, the family has suffered too much. Every time I think of it, I feel deeply moved. Put away the memories of the past. The tram arrived and he got off. Sakakibara went to a nearby convenience store and bought 2 nori rice balls for lunch, and then went to a flower shop to buy a bouquet of roses as a gift for meeting Ashiya for the first time. Even the boss's wife praised him for being handsome. Although it was true, it somewhat increased his confidence. Is it a date? Do you want to write a card? The landlady was quite enthusiastic, with a smile on her face. Card. Isn't there a small card inside the roses? There are some messages that I want to say on it. The proprietress standing in the flower shop handed him the roses. It's a love story. Young people often come to me to buy roses. Most of them can't write. I help them write them. Do you want me to write one for you too? It's hard to tell that the landlady is still an expert in love affairs. Okay, Sakakihara smiled as much as possible, but don't write too intimately, it's the first time we meet. The flower shop proprietress had an expression that said, I understand, I completely understand. Then I went to the front desk and picked up a pen. What's the other person's name? Ashiya Suzaku. The place where we met was in Akihabara, the most famous commercial street in Tokyo. It used to be a place where electrical appliances were sold, but now it has become a gathering place for agriculture. As soon as you enter this cutting-edge electrical appliance street, the unique advertising posters will immediately attract the attention of tourists. Many electrical appliance duty-free shops continue to announce in fairly standard Chinese Mandarin, desktop computers, laptop computers, computer accessories, digital cameras. The store is full of tourists. Various banner advertisements, installment coupons, duty-free promotions, colorful signs, and product price tags are all dazzling. It's just to deceive Chinese tourists. Those who can come here are rich people. Sakakibara glanced sideways at the clerk who spoke in Chinese to a Chinese tourist wearing a large gold chain, and continued on. The two had exchanged lines for a month through the contact information on the black confession letter, and currently they only know each other's names. Ashiya Suzuru sounds like she should be a pretty girl. For female netizens who have never met in person, they can't help but fantasize about her appearance. But the other party had just sent me 2 photos, and before I had a chance to appreciate them, the phone flew away. Well, it's also bad luck. However, although the phone was gone, Raku Sakakibara clearly remembered that Suzuru Ashiya said he was waiting for him under the red Sega 1 building in Akihabara. If you see a girl wearing a beret, a grey pleated skirt, and holding a cup of milk tea, that's her. When he thought about meeting her, Sakakihara Raku couldn't help but hesitate a little while walking on the crowded street. He didn't know if he should describe it this way, but he even began to think of her appearance. Good looking or not? Isn't it cute? What does she like? What are her hobbies? When we meet later, do you want to take her to a movie? It's really sad to think about it. I have been a person for 2 lifetimes. It's weird to have your first love at this time. Regarding love, Sakakihara Raku actually doesn't care. Isn't it okay to live alone? He believes in love, but does not believe that love will come to him. But if a girl who is like a close friend appears in life, she will say hello to you in the morning, and say good night to herself after chatting in the evening. She seems to be enveloped in an unreachable dream in her heart. Even though we only talked for less than a month. Sakakibara thought, at least, he should meet her once. For this first time in my life, I ran away. The streets are noisy. Sakakihara Raku, who was holding the rose, suddenly stopped because he was opposite Sega Hall 1, looking through the endless flow of people and passers-by, and saw a girl who was exactly the same as the description in the message. Beret, grey pleated skirt, wearing a cat mask, and holding a cup of milk tea. The girl's back was turned to him, facing the huge Yakuza 7 advertisement in Sega Hall 1. The beautiful back of the girl flickered faintly among the crowds. Sakakihara stood across the street. The moment he noticed the girl, the shadows of passers-by seemed to become blurry in an instant. The figures of pedestrians became more and more magical, and the noisy intersection suddenly fell silent. All he could see in his eyes was the back of the girl opposite. I found out that she was that girl, the first girl who made me feel interesting. Even though she has never met her, judging from her back, the feeling she gives Raku Sakakibara is not inferior to the 2 beautiful twin girls with unique temperaments whom she met just now. Coming soon. Sakakibara felt his heart become a little nervous. He breathed a sigh of relief and calmed down. When the traffic light on the opposite side turned green, he held the flower and walked slowly over. Among the surging crowds, on the zebra crossing, the backs of Sakakihara Raku and the girl slowly approached. Finally, his footsteps stopped 1 meter away from the girl. Hello. Sakakihara looked at the girl's back and her hair swaying lightly in the wind. When the beret girl in front heard this voice, she stopped drinking milk tea to pass the boring time, and looked up at the Sega Hall 1, which was painted with Coke colors, with a bright smile on her face. She pulled the cat mask on her face, deliberately did not turn around, but put her hands behind her back, cleared her throat, and asked behind her in a cute voice. Yes, Raku Sakakibara, right. The voice has the youthfulness of a girl, a slight reserve, and the melodiousness of a lark. The same as the voice in the chat history. Sakakibara nodded, trying to make his voice less nervous, yes. The girl put her hands behind her hands and weighed her toes. So. Sakakibara-kun, do you know what to do on a date? Shopping, Sakakibara tried to ask. Shopping, that's right. Shopping is definitely part of a date, but that's not all. Before I tell you the final answer, does Sakakibara-kun remember one thing? What? The girl chuckled lightly and continued in a cute voice, 2 days ago, that is, the afternoon after school, you made a promise, an agreement that you were willing to accept defeat. 2 days ago, in the afternoon, a promise, an agreement to accept defeat? What is that? However, he seemed to have thought of something, and the key words were connected in his brain. Sakakihara looked at the girl's back with one hand raised, as if she was snickering, and suddenly felt that the feeling she gave him was becoming more and more familiar. He frowned. What is this familiar feeling? He thought carefully about it in his mind, and seemed to realize something, and the smile on his face fell instantly. It hit my forehead like a bolt from the blue. Holmes said to Watson, when you eliminate all impossible situations, what remains, no matter how unbelievable, is fact. And why didn't I think of it? Ashiya Suzaku. Jingle. Bell. Sakakihara Suzu. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. About the fact that I unintentionally raised my sister to be a cripple. Author, Wo Buletin 11 Huan Tou Lan. Chapter 3. General. For a long time, his consciousness and the air were stagnant. The hustle and bustle on the street, the sounds of maid cafes soliciting customers, and the sounds of cars driving kept passing by his ears and entering his mind. General. Brother, don't be in a daze. It took Sakakibara a long time to accept the appearance of the girl in front of her after taking off her cat mask. Who would have thought that the girl he had longed for, fantasized about, and could talk to so easily? She could actually be her biological sister. He held his forehead and shook his head, and it took him 3 minutes to get used to it. When he raised his head again, he looked at the cute little face under the beret, with a look of indifference and helplessness. After all, I just celebrated my birthday. All I wanted to do was give you a surprise and give you a taste of love. Don't learn in a day. And shoot you with arrows. Suzu Sakakihara poked her right cheek with her index finger, tilted her head, and smiled. I really thank you. What's the point of being cute? Sakakibara smashed the rose in his hand onto her head, held her forehead and turned around to leave. Hey! Don't go. Sakakihara Suzu was anxious, quickly hugged the roses above her head, and quickly followed him. Sakakibara looked calm. Brother, are you surprised? Sakakihara Suzu put her hands behind her hands and looked at his face from the side. Sakakihara Raku said nothing. Brother, you should be happy. All the other sisters hate my brother. I am the only one who will come to make you happy when you are busy studying and have no fun in life. Still happy? I'm really happy about you. Raku. Sakakibara punched her on the head, drilled hard, and said through gritted teeth. I really want to punch the stinky girl. Don't worry. You told me not to care? For me, there is only disappointment. Sakakihara held it in for a long time and finally sighed. Ashiya Suzaku is gone, first love is a joke. Angry? She asked cutely. Angry? Of course I'm angry. Then you hit me, so that you can calm down, right? Sakakibara calmed down a little, looked at Sakakihara Suzu's little face and asked, why do you spend so much time teasing me? Sakakibara Suzu pinched the rose and replied with some dissatisfaction, who am I kidding you? I told you that you are bored at home reading every day, and your brain is going to be exhausted. Without me to chat with you, you guy has been here for a month. Can you be so happy? Is it so important to get into a good university? Why don't you come and learn to be a voice actor with me? You have learned so much, can I still enter the same school as you? Mom gave you a very high tuition fee to let you in? What credits are you worth as a little voice actor? Seriously. To be honest, he has been quite happy this past month. He can also understand Ling's original intention. But, hey, what a stinky girl. Are you not angry anymore? Suzu Sakakibara asked cautiously. I apologize to you. I will also call you Oni-chan. No, you want to use me as practice material again, right? Sakakibara held her breath, then relaxed. I'm not angry anymore. After all, who would be angry with a biological sister who has had to help her brother to pee since she was a child? How do you know how to talk about these cliched things? Okay, okay, I don't have time to talk to you about these things. Brother is still very attentive. What? Sakakihara Suzu held the unfinished milk tea in one hand, and put the bouquet of roses in front of her nose with the other hand, smelled it, and said happily, "These roses are quite fresh, they must have cost a lot of money. After all, this is my first meeting, so I must be more prepared." "Well, that's it. Ashiya Suzuru, it's so nice to meet you." Sakakihara Suzu picked up the card among the flowers and looked at it. She knew she shouldn't laugh, but she couldn't hold it back and laughed. Such corny love words. "Brother, are you from Showa? You're too innocent." Sakakihara Raku's head is full of black lines. This boss lady is not reliable either. And this stinky little sister is still laughing, otherwise she will have to be hung up and spanked when she grows up. After noticing the unkind look in her brother's eyes, Sakakihara Suzu quickly gathered her emotions, stood up straight, raised her chest without any heaving, and pretended as if nothing happened. "Elder brother." "What?" "Nothing, just calling you." "Then stop talking." After secretly glancing at Sakakihara Raku several times, Sakakibara Suzu finally couldn't help it anymore, and secretly imitated Sakakihara Raku's voice and said, "Ashiya Suzuru, it's great to meet you, it hurts. It hurts." Sakakibara punched her head and drilled down on the beret so hard that she begged for mercy. "You still know it hurts? Is that right?" "Wrong, wrong, wrong, I was wrong, I was really wrong. I'll let you go this time." Sakakihara Suzu has short hair and is a little more serious. I don't mean anything else, I just think that when I read the sentence, it is both a rose and a gift, which is always old-fashioned, but as a girl, it is still a bit I feel it. That's for Ashiya Suzuru, not for you. Brother, don't you understand? Ashiya Suzuru is me. During the chat, I even said that I feel particularly good about me. Hee, do you like me? I like you, big-headed ghost. Now that I think about it, for this month, Sakakihara Suzu, this stinky old girl, has been hiding behind her mobile phone and laughing until her stomach twitches. What is this? Stop talking about this, you actually deliberately made a sound to lie to me. It sounds good. This is the energetic and cute style that I have been studying for a long time. I didn't expect that I would like this one. Raku Sakakibara stopped and looked formally at Suzu. "Sakakibara, you don't have any work in the office today." Sakakihara Suzu, my biological sister who is more than 1 year younger than me. A freshman in high school, a newcomer to the industry who has been in the voice acting industry for nearly 2 years and has acted in more than a dozen anime. Of course, most newcomers are just walk-ons. She is somewhat famous, because she looks pretty and cute, and has some fans following her. A beret, short hair, a pleated skirt, and a coat loose on her arms are her style, and she has a unique pair of purple eyes. I don't know if she took the wrong medicine, but she was born with purple eyes. For this reason, the father who disappeared without a trace even secretly took the brother and sister for a paternity test. Alas! Although she looks quite serious and pretty on the outside. But once I got home, I was actually too lazy to do it. This girl is very naughty. In junior high school alone, she has fooled many male classmates into paying tribute to her uncle. Even if you don't help them, you are still a liar. Just don't accept any of them. No, how can I have work every day? I also have to rest on weekends. Sakakihara Suzu circled her right hand in a circle, and finally pinched a circle around her eyes with her thumb and index finger. That is the OK gesture. Her bright eyes blinked inside the circle. Then you kept saying you would work overtime last week, Sakakibara muttered, and then stretched out his hand to her. "Give it to me." "No." Sakakihara Suzu took 2 steps back while holding the rose he just bought. "This was given to me by my little Lele." "Xiao Lele," Sakakihara Lele said with black lines on his head, "I didn't say I wanted this from you, but let me use your phone." "Why are you using mine? Didn't you just buy the latest iPhone?" "Humph, I don't know how much I feel sorry for your sister." "Buy her one too." Suzu Sakakibara's eyes were filled with resentment. "You make more money than me." A convenience store employee Raku Sakakihara extended his hand to her again and frowned for a moment. "Hurry up and bring it." "So fierce." Suzu Sakakihara showed a very weak look. She took out the mobile phone with a rabbit protective case from her pocket and handed it to him. Then she turned away and whispered in a low voice. "Besides, it's not a matter of who earns more and who earns less. I buy it for you but you don't want it? And you keep saying that you still want to use what you bought." "What did you say?" Sakakihara Raku couldn't hear her murmur, and the cafe maid on the street in Akihabara who used a loudspeaker to attract customers was too noisy. Her little mouth seemed to be moving, but it seemed not moving. "It's nothing." Sakakihara Suzu made a face at him and asked, "Why are you using my phone?" Sakakihara Raku said while operating, "Mom has something important to announce to us. Let's go to a coffee shop to find her." "I'll search how to get there." "Don't you have a mobile phone?" Suzu Sakakihara asked doubtfully. "Broken. The one I just bought is broken." Sakakihara Suzu's pupils were dilated and she couldn't believe it. "That's it? Your answer is too perfunctory. Or is it because someone is bullying you, brother? Brother, just take me with you, and we will fight back together. Beat him up all day and night. You have short arms and thin legs, and you still fight. Forget it. Don't underestimate me. You are small to begin with. You dash. Damn it." My sister knew what he was talking about and stared at him angrily with her purple eyes for a while before the conversation got back on track. "Humph, forget it, I won't argue with you. What does Mom want to do? It can't be that heartless man who came back, right? I'll kill him when he comes back." She has always had a deep resentment towards her father who ran away from home. But girls should not always talk about killing, killing, killing. Sakakihara Raku didn't bother to lecture her anymore. "I don't know either. Mom asked us to go there before announcing it. You want to move? When I go home at night, I just listen to her nagging, but we are so poor, what kind of good house can we buy? Poverty is only temporary, your brother will be rich soon." "Tch," Sakakibara Suzu crossed her arms and glanced at her mouth in disgust, "a guy whose hourly salary is less than 1,000. Standing next to the vending machine on the roadside, Raku Sakakihara looked at the crowded streets of Akihabara in front of him. "Let's go, find a tram and catch it later." The second floor of the National Museum of Art, Roppongi, Tokyo. It is a circular open cafe with tables spread out in a row around the curved tempered glass. There are integrated leather seats on the outside and polished oak seats on the inside. The aisle is sandwiched between the bar and seats. At first glance, this place doesn't sound very famous, but if it is said to be the place where your name is located there must be a lot of people who know about the cafe where the male protagonist Taki and the female senior date. It was here that Sakakihara Raku and Sakakihara Suzu found their mother sitting in the cafe. Mrs. Sakakibara wore a sun hat with a sunflower on it, a khaki knitted cardigan, a light-colored satin skirt, and even a light foundation on her face. She obviously dressed up carefully before going out. Opposite her was a middle-aged man who looked about the same age as her. "Who is that?" Sakakibara asked quietly, looking across. "I've never seen it." Sakakihara Suzu shook her head and said she didn't know. "New landlord." The two of them spoke in unison. "But even if it's a new landlord, There's no need to call us over, Sakakihara Suzu whispered to her brother. That's true. Isn't it the boyfriend my mother is looking for outside? Why does he look familiar to me? Maybe he's the one he's dating now, and his image will change. That being said, it seems like I've definitely seen him before. He's a very handsome uncle. Then why did mom bring her boyfriend here? How could I know? Come here quickly. Coincidentally, Mrs. Sakakibara, who was looking around, spotted the two Sakakihara siblings not far away. She smiled and waved to them, signaling them to come quickly. Want to go there? Sakakihara Suzu asked. What are you afraid of? Sakakihara said. I had a feeling something bad was going to happen. Let me tell you, your intuition has never been accurate. It's very accurate, okay. When Sakakibara Raku and Sakakibara Suzu slowly approached, they took a serious look at the strange man sitting opposite their mother. Wearing simple men's casual clothes, with a cluster of bangs on his forehead, a pen on his chest, and rimless glasses. He is about 30 years old, and his face looks more like a professional elite. Mrs. Sakakibara's face was full of joy. Ali, Aling, come on, you two introduce yourselves to Uncle Amamai. Uncle Tianhai? The two brothers and sisters stood quietly and looked at each other, completely unaware of the current situation. It's really a man that my mother has been in contact with. He has a unique temperament. When I first met him, I thought he was my mother's boss. Why does mother seem so enthusiastic? Got promoted? Don't be stunned. Mrs. Sakakibara smiled and said to the brother and sister who were standing there. No, no need. I suddenly appeared. It's normal for them to have this expression. The middle-aged man waved his hand calmly, nodded to the brothers and sisters and said with a smile, we must have met before. My name is Shiminori Amamai. I am 42 years old. I currently work at a suka firm in Tokyo and am a lawyer. Mom successfully caught the handsome uncle. Tianhai? They look so familiar. They seem to be the twin girls who bumped into me 2 hours ago. Their surname is also Tianhai. After hearing the self-introduction of the strange uncle in front of them, Sakakihara Raku and Sakakihara Suzu had different thoughts in their minds. I called you here today mainly because I have something important to announce to you. I hope you can be fully prepared. Amamai Maidenori's tone is casual and conversational, with a friendly smile on his face when he speaks. After all, there are two families involved. He folded his hands and put them on the table. Invisibly, his words seemed to have a convincing power. It's about two families, preparation, lawyers. This thing sounds increasingly bad. Originally, I prepared a lot of things to say to you, and I also prepared gifts, but some things are better explained clearly from the beginning. When he said this, he paused for a second and stared closely at the two Sakakihara siblings sitting opposite. Then I'll cut the story short. For some reason, Sakakibara Raku felt that for a second, in front of Amamai Shigenori, the air was as quiet as the moment the gavel was struck. I am married to your mother, Ms. Sakakibara. About the fact that I unintentionally raised my sister to be a cripple. Author, Wo Bulletin 11 Huan Tou Lan. Chapter 4. I am married to your mother, Ms. Sakakibara. Sakakihara Raku fell into thinking. Amamai Maidenori had obviously realized their proper expressions in advance, so he waited patiently. In the suddenly cold air, Sakakihara Suzu was the first to try and ask, really? Nature? Nothing, a contract marriage that had to be done because of a lawsuit. Your mother and I are in a free relationship, don't think too much about it. Tianhai Madayan tried his best to make his expression look kinder, so that he could leave a good impression in front of his brothers and sisters. Sakakihara Suzu looked at Shigenori Amamai, and then at her mother who was looking forward to her reply. The girl fell into deep thought. Stepfather, stepfather, suddenly there was a stepfather. Although he was indeed a handsome uncle, this matter was fundamentally difficult for her to accept. Even though I already knew that my mother was in contact with an adult man. But why did he suddenly remarry? The air was quiet for 10 seconds. Sakakibara looked at his mother and said, "Mom, why did you suddenly remarry?" Mrs. Sakakihara looked at her children's incomprehensible expressions and understood what they were thinking. After living in a single-parent family for more than 10 years, it is normal to find it difficult to accept that he is suddenly remarried. Miwa Sakakihara had been brewing for a long time, holding the hot wall of the coffee cup with both hands, looking at the reflection in the water and said, "Ellie, and Aling, I remember I talked to you some time ago. I should say I talked to you a long time ago. Our family is not complete. Mom, you've always wanted to reorganize your family." Sakakihara Raku knew about this. After all, the single mother persisted in working alone until now, and she had been feeling lonely for a long time. "Yes." Mrs. Sakakibara nodded, "I can't help you either. Because I'm too busy with work, I've always neglected to take care of you, and you've been missing too many things on your way to growth." "Mom, what are you talking about?" Sakakihara Suzu asked cautiously. "What an opening statement. Okay, no more joking. You probably know this in your mind. I want to remarry." Both Sakakihara Suzu and Sakakihara Raku expressed their affirmation with silence. "It has been a long-standing fact that my mother wants to remarry. After all, the life of a single mother with 2 children is too difficult." Miwa Sakakihara continued. "Although your bastard father is a bastard, when we first came to our hometown, we were still a family, a harmonious family, and a family that gathered together to have dinner. Everyone can discuss the day's events, complain about the trivial matters of the day, and complain about being shoveled by others when the food at home is shoveled. But not long after arriving in Tokyo, that bastard ran away. He not only took away the backbone of the family, but also brought with him a large amount of debt from playing pachinko. He was short of money and owed money. We are still a single-parent family. Most of the time you can't even afford me meat, so I have never been able to give you a complete home. I see you eating a few pieces of tofu for dinner every day, and you are disturbed from your sleep by debt collectors every day. I can't sleep, and I see Ale going out to pick up bottles every day to help make ends meet, and I can't even give him pocket money. As a mother, I really can't stand it at all. As you know, I didn't have a job at that time, and no one thought highly of me. I wanted to find someone to rely on, and because I brought you two with me, the other party disliked me. Everyone said that I brought you 2 burdens, and they still expected me. Can I help you raise 2 people?" When Miwa Sakakihara said this, she smiled at her reflection in the coffee cup. To Sakakihara Raku, this smile seemed extremely bitter and bitter. "I have always wanted to give you a complete family, but due to various reasons, I have never been able to get the chance. 99% of men also despise me for bringing you 2 with me. Only Madayan does not have you. Understand me? Do you have an idea?" Uncle Madayan helped Aling get into Mingda Elementary School because of his connections. Mom's words made the atmosphere heavy. After hearing this, Sakakihara suddenly understood his mother. "I understand why my mother wants to marry the person in front of me. On the one hand, I want to reorganize the family. On the other hand, it is indeed my mother who has found someone who can be sincere to her. As for what my mother said about sorry for herself and Aling, that's pure bullshit. How difficult must it be for a single mother to raise 2 children alone in that era and endure all the ravages and hardships of society to the point where she now has no worries about food and clothing. Now that my mother has improved my living conditions and I am happy, who do I have to accuse my mother of wanting my own happiness?" Sakakihara Raku's mood calmed down a lot despite his heavy mood. Sakakibara Suzu had a complicated expression, but even so. Mom, before you get married, you should at least discuss it with us. Mrs. Sakakibara smiled, didn't I tell you before that I am dating an uncle? You know it and have seen it. I know, but who knew you would remarry directly? Sakakihara Suzu muttered softly, somewhat complaining. It's not that they haven't considered this, but in this case, they did not do it right. It is true that we did this abruptly, and I'm sorry, Mrs. Sakakibara said warmly, lowering her eyes and staring at the reflection in the coffee cup, but sometimes, some emotions cannot be explained clearly in a few words. It is true. On impulse, Madayan suddenly said to me, let's get married. My mind went blank at that time, and I agreed without even thinking about it, and then went to go through the marriage formalities. I'm sorry that you have really wronged you by following me for the past 10 years. Just think of it as my willfulness, kill it first and tell it later. Nothing wrong. Mom, you have taken care of me and my brother by yourself until now. I think you should be able to. What her mother said was calm, but it also sounded quite bitter. Sakakihara Suzu spoke incoherently, and finally opened her mouth, but she didn't know what to say, so she could only keep silent. It's not that I don't understand the impulsive psychology that a single mother like my mother, who has been disliked by others for more than 10 years, feels when a man directly says to her, let's get married, and is believed, trusted, and moved. She started to reminisce. The biological father disappeared without a trace 10 years ago. At that time, the weak mother gritted her teeth to raise the two brothers and sisters. They even went from a small waiter to the manager of a star-rated restaurant. The bitterness during this period, Sakakihara Suzu felt that it could no longer be described in words. And suddenly a man appeared. He was a lawyer, a mature man, rich in knowledge and culture, and he seemed to have a good personality. Mother is like a yacht floating on the sea. After wandering for more than 10 years, she finally met an ocean cruise ship that was willing to pull her back on board. It's not that she can't understand this feeling of being relied on. As a child, Sakakihara Suzu knows how difficult it has been for her mother in the past 10 years. They were always considered first in everything, and they wanted to move their brothers and sisters out of that dilapidated and damp old house. And as a single mother, she did it. And judging from the first impression alone, she did have a good impression of this uncle. The point is, his mother really likes him. After a long time, Sakakihara Suzu nodded in silence. Mrs. Sakakibara smiled and said, you agree? We are already married, so we can only agree, Sakakihara Suzu muttered. Where's Ale? Me? I don't have any objections. As long as you are happy, Mom. Mrs. Sakakibara stood up happily, stroking her palms and said. Well, Aling, we and Uncle Tianhai will be one family from now on. The new house has been bought, just over there in the port area. I came up with the money, but you, Uncle Tianhai, insisted on buying it yourself. And I agreed. Minato area? The houses over there are not cheap at all, and the better areas are completely in wealthy areas. An idea came to Raku Sakakibara's mind. Compared with the fact that his mother remarried, he now cares more about his stepfather, Amami Madenori. Because the stepfather has such a good temperament. At first glance, he looks like a cultured person, and he is not short of money. But why do you like your own mother? Still agree to get married? Miwa Sakakihara smiled again and said, by the way, Shigenori has two daughters, both younger than Ale and older than you, Aling. They have to wait for a while to come because of the traffic jam. I hope that next time there will be days when you can get along well. I know. Sakakihara Suzu glanced at the brother next to her with a strange look. The text message alert rang at an inappropriate time. Sorry, wait a minute. Amami Madenori apologized to the brothers and sisters, got up and left his seat, walked aside and looked at his phone, then turned back to the brothers and sisters standing there and smiled and said, "They are here, I will go out to pick them up, you can sit down for a while." He left the cafe. "Isuzu, do you think this stepfather is a little unusual?" Raku Sakakihara watched as Amami Shigenori disappeared. "No way. Looking at his temperament and clothes, don't you think he is one of the social elites at first glance? It seems a bit, but he is a lawyer, so this is normal. Compared to lawyers, I think he seems a little more stable." "Brother, you don't like him. The first impression is quite good. He is also a serious but approachable person." "Then don't worry, our mother has nothing but her face. What can that lawyer lie to us? He bought the house. 2. Isuzu, come on, sit here quickly." Mrs. Sakakibara pulled her daughter to sit next to her and said something to her as a mother. Roughly some topics to enlighten her. Sakakibara Raku was drinking the coffee that Amami Shigenori ordered for him in advance while looking around. I don't know if his mother told him about his coffee preferences, but Uncle Tianhai specially ordered a bitter espresso for himself, which tasted very appetizing. Raku Sakakibara glanced at Suzu Sakakibara's coffee cup next to her. There was a label on the top. "It's her favorite flavor. A cup here should cost about 3,000 yen, right?" Uncle Tianhai is also considerate. I just don't know what he thinks of his mother. Just as he was thinking this, Shiminori Amami walked towards the door of the coffee shop. Sakakibara looked over. Behind Amami Maid Nori were two tall girls. A sky blue gradient short skirt with an exposed snow neck and long flaxen hair shawl. "Wait a minute, isn't this the same two twins I met before?" This is really the case. It turns out that the surname Tianhai is really not a coincidence. Tianhai Madian, Tianhai Juliuli, and the remaining one should be Tianhai Kaimingyu. Sure enough, the world is full of wonderful coincidences. However, if they are the daughters of Uncle Tianhai, doesn't it mean that I have two more twin sisters? Sakakihara suddenly realized this. At the same time, the two girls also stopped in front of everyone. The upper body is a white shirt with a red bow on the collar. The legs of the two girls are evenly slender. The slightly swaying skirts just stopped with the pace of the two, and the colorful fragrance of the walk seemed to be still permeated. "Juliuli, Chi Minjio, please introduce yourself, we will all be a family from now on." Tianhai Madian stretched out his hand and said. Tianhai Juliuli's small face is delicate and elegant, and her movements have a sense of reserved etiquette of a girl. People can't help but think of the cherry blossom branches hanging on the river. Tianhai Kaimingyu also nodded and bent down to the people in front of her like her sister, with obedient and straight movements. Although the two sisters look exactly the same, their personalities can be seen to be completely different from just one or two details of their movements and expressions. My sister is dignified and virtuous. My sister is decent and well-behaved. Compared to her brother's indifference, Suzu Sakakihara looked slightly surprised when she saw the two beautiful girls standing quietly opposite. Twin. Tianhai Madian, who was standing next to his two daughters, replied, "Yes, Juliuli is my sister, she is 5 minutes older than Chi Minjio." Next it was time for my mother to introduce the Sakakibara siblings to the two sisters. The Tianhai sisters are all listening. Since half of Sakakihara Raku's face was covered by his mother, they did not recognize him immediately. However, as soon as Mrs. Sakakibara introduced him, Amami Nanami immediately noticed him. "Nana Mingzuki, this is my son. Sakakibara is more than a year older than you. I should have told you about him before." Sakakibara followed his mother's words and nodded to the two sisters whom he had met a long time ago. "Hello. In the future, you can try to get along well with each other. The same goes for you, Ale. From now on, you will be Zayaju and Zyoki's brother. You must remember dash." Listening to Mrs. Sakakibara's explanation, Nanami tilted her head slightly. After discovering this face she had seen not long ago, the girl subconsciously connected it with an impression in her mind, and blurted out like a conditioned reflex. "Ah, he's my sister's boyfriend." Mrs. Sakakibara's introduction ended, and almost at the same moment, everyone at the coffee table turned to Sakakibara's suddenly stunned face. About the fact that I unintentionally raised my sister to be a cripple. Author, Wo Bulletin 11 Huan Tou Lan. Chapter 5. He found that not only the expression of Amami Shidanori in front of him froze, but his mother and sister also looked at him in astonishment. The air was silent for an unknown period of time. Mrs. Sakakibara looked at her son with surprise in her eyes, and Amami Shidanori also looked inquiringly. Misunderstanding facing everyone's gaze, Sakakibara said. But obviously, an easy misunderstanding cannot dispel their doubts. You don't have to listen to Chi Minjio's nonsense. Tianhai Julie Yulai was very troubled. I'm not talking nonsense. Tianhai Kaimingyu followed closely. It's just nonsense. Tianhai Julie Yulai became anxious and looked at the troublesome sister with an angry face. Tianhai Chi Minjio looked indifferent. Sister Mingming has admitted that the boy with the mobile phone is her boyfriend. Mobile phone boy Sakakibara Raku feels like he can't complain. Where? Being watched by her father and aunt, Tianhai Julie Yulai felt that her heart was about to jump out of her chest. Tianhai Kaimingyu stretched out a straight slender finger and put it in front of her face. She was holding a shoulder bag with one hand. Her voice was like a tape being played back, and she said in the tone of her sister at that time. How come my boyfriend doesn't believe it? Chi Minjio, Tianhai Julie Yulai held her shoulders and shook her vigorously. Elder sister. The 7 bright moons in the sky were shaking, and they looked numbly at the sister's face that was exactly the same as his own. This is definitely taken out of context. Sakakibara finally figured out that Nanami Mingzuki was deliberately teasing her sister. The reason, judging from the conversation between the two of them on the train, was that the elder sister secretly ate a packet of iced potato chips from the younger sister. Well, Amami made Nori couldn't see the daily quarrels between the two sisters. He frowned, tapped his fingers on the coffee table, and took out his father's identity. Okay, what kind of girls do you two look like when you are making such a fuss outside? After a while, the two sisters became quiet. 2 beautiful twin girls stood quietly and dignifiedly in front of their father. Amami made Nori glanced at the 2 daughters lightly and asked like an interrogation. What exactly is going on? Dot. Both were silent. Tianhai Madian crossed his arms and pointed his index finger at Tianhai Julie Yulai. Sister, say it first. So, it's just a misunderstanding, right? Coupled with Sakakibara Raku's confession, Amami Shigenori knew clearly about the boyfriend incident. Tianhai Julie Yulai nodded. Mrs. Sakakibara was also relieved, only Sakakibara Suzu glanced at Sakakibara Raku inexplicably. Chi Minjio, do you have anything you would like to explain? Tianhai Madian looked a little to the right. No, the girl's perspective turned to the side. Amami made Nori closed his eyes and was silent for a while, breathing out like a long breath. When he opened his eyes again, he seemed to have no emotion. You guys, what do you think you did wrong today? It was my fault. It's none of my sister's business either. The 2 sisters continued to speak. Forget it for today. Tianhai Madian tapped his left arm with his right finger. You 2 should pay more attention in the future. Since you are a girl, you should have the side that a girl should have. Julie Yulai, don't be so reckless. Chi Minjio, eat less snacks, too. As for the money Julie Yulai owes Xiao, I won't help you pay it, although you certainly don't need it. You can discuss how to solve it yourself. You will also be brothers and sisters in the same family in the future, and you must learn to get along well with each other. At this time, Sakakibara Suzu secretly said to her brother, this uncle is very strict with his daughter, but he is kind to us. That's just polite, Sakakibara replied. Seeing that the atmosphere had eased, Mrs. Sakakibara said with a smile, "You guys, Ale and Ling, chat with each other for a while. Young people should get to know each other first. Your father and I will go to the table next door to drink coffee, so as not to disturb your chat. Tell us when you're done chatting. Be polite." Tianhimadayan warned his two daughters. The elder went next door, and the four of them gathered at a table. In fact, it is good to have the elders taking the lead. Once the elders disappear, the children of the two families sit together, with their big eyes staring at the little ones, as if they are sitting on pins and needles. Awkward. Besides being awkward, it's still embarrassing. After all, they are all strangers meeting each other for the first time. Tianhaikimingyu, 15 years old. Tianhaikimingyu's shoulder bag was placed on her skirt. She folded her hands in front of her, and her nodding movements could be said to be accurate to the decimal point. Minjiao. That's not it, Tianhaikimingyu said. The Chinese characters are written as Kaimingyu. Sakakibara roughly understood, reading and writing are different. Kaimingyu's name probably has other meanings. But it doesn't really matter. Some people's names are written as Starry Sky and pronounced as NASA. Yes, it's the NASA of a certain country's aerospace agency. Tianhai Julie Yulai also nodded formally. Tianhai Julie Yulai, 15 years old, was born 5 minutes earlier than Kaimingyu. Please give me your advice in the future. Julie Yulai's name is nothing special. It's a very standard girl's name and sounds very easy to pronounce. The two beautiful twin girls sitting opposite each other were so dazzling that they were hard to ignore. Sakakibara Suzu, 15 years old. Sakakibara Suzu entered serious mode. Her expression and movements were very formal. Sakakibara Raku, 17 years old. Sakakibara Raku tried to keep his statement as brief as possible. It's really a coincidence. In order to find a topic, Amamai Kuriyuri smiled at Sakakibara Raku, and his voice was heartwarming. Just now, when we were at Waisda Station, Sakakibara-kun wasn't angry with me, was he? Ha ha. Ha ha ha. Although it can be seen that the girl is taking the initiative to warm up the scene, it seems to be more embarrassing. Sakakibara tried his best to calm down and replied in a serious tone. No, after all Tianhai-sang is willing to compensate. That's good. Tianhai-ju really patted his chest, and then said with a slight smile, Sakakibara-kun, just call me Ju really. Originally, I wanted to come here to meet you first, and then go home to gather the remaining 10,000 yen, I'll contact you again and formally apologize to Sakakibara-kun, but I didn't expect things to happen by such a coincidence. It's quite accidental. The beautiful twin girls who crashed into my phone on the roadside are actually my stepfather's daughters. What kind of light novel unfolds the plot? Sister should call him brother. Nanamai kept looking at Sakakibara Raku. Isn't it too early? Not early. It doesn't matter, Sakakibara Raku added, you don't need to call me by name, just a separate last name and San or Jun is fine. Tianhai Julie Yulai thought for a while, with our relationship now, it doesn't seem good to be too unfamiliar. What about Lejun? Brother Tianhai Kaimingyu's face was calm, and her beautiful girl's face made her look exquisite and perfect. Sakakibara Suzu on the side was stunned. The atmosphere suddenly became subtle. She noticed that there was something strange about her sister's personality, but she was quite normal. It's like the younger sister is deliberately targeting her older sister? Brother is a bit strange, so let's call him brother. Tianhai Julie Yulai felt a little strange. Is there any difference? Sister, it's just a title. The title is also important. The main thing about this matter is to seek Sakakibara-kun's opinion. Amamai Nanamayu was still surprisingly calm. Does Sakakibara-kun have any objections? You can shout that if you want, as long as you want. Well, I'll call you brother from now on. Then when I call you, I also call you by your name. Just call Chi Minjio. Okay. Sakeki Hara Suzu suddenly said, she is also 15 years old. Hello, perhaps affected by the atmosphere just now, Tianhai Julie Yuli's words, deeds, and behavior began to become restrained. Tianhai Kaimingyu blinked, it's Saka-san. Tianhai Julie Yuli looked at her sister in confusion, not understanding the meaning of her sudden words. Sakeki Harasuzu was stunned for a moment, then smiled awkwardly, this, ha ha ha. What's the meaning? Saka-san is the nickname given to Miss Sakakibara by fans. Nanamayu's tone remained indifferent, with no other meaning in her eyes. Although she is not very popular, Saka-san has a famous line dash. Sakeki Harasuzu quickly interrupted, no. This. Haha, let's forget it. After the four people formally got to know each other and communicated for a while, the coffee in the cup gradually ran out. From the initial resistance, Sakeki Harasuzu has become somewhat familiar with the two sisters. Chi Minjio seems to know the works she has appeared in, and the two of them can chat about some things. Sakeki Hararaku was not able to talk for a few words because of the embarrassment over the previous incident with Kuruori when she bumped into her cell phone. After more than half an hour, several people felt that the conversation was almost over, and my mother also came over and said, Ale, the new house I just mentioned, tomorrow is the weekend, we will move there in the morning. Today you and Ling will go to the hotel to stay one night. Where? Platinum Takanawa in Minato City, an apartment building with an area of more than 160 square meters. Sakakibara was surprised, 160 square meters in Minato area. Yes. Don't you need us to move? No, I've already asked the moving company to pack it up. A bunch of very diligent young men have probably arrived at home now and started to deal with the things and appliances in the room. I'll pack your clothes for you, Aling. As Mrs. Sakakibara was talking, she suddenly saw her daughter standing up stunned. Her trembling eyes looked toward the glass skylight of the art gallery. Shijino Ryamamai, who was sitting next to Mrs. Sakakibara, noticed Sakakibara Suzu's expression and asked with concern, what's wrong? There's something going on at my office. After murmuring these words, Sakeki Harasuzu anxiously picked up her handbag and coat and rushed out of the cafe. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. About the fact that I unintentionally raised my sister to be a cripple. Author, Wo Buletin 11 Huan Tou Lan. Chapter 6. When Sakeki Hararaku saw his sister again, it was 8 o'clock in the evening. At the entrance of the hotel, compared to the afternoon, Suzu Sakeki Hara was wearing an extra coat that was shrugged on her shoulders, and her shoes were changed into pink and blue sneakers. She looked like an energetic girl. Sakeki Hara knew that her sudden run back in the afternoon was definitely not a matter of business affairs. But he didn't want to ask. As a close brother, he knew that Sakakibara Suzu would not answer his questions. But that must be her dark secret. Vehicles are constantly passing through the streets. Street lights, street trees, car lights, and the fountain in front of the hotel. The noisy vehicles highlight the atmosphere of the city. The night wind makes people feel happy. Passing by the fountain, Sakeki Harasuzu yawned and walked up to Sakakibara Raku. Why did it take you so long to come here? Sakeki Hara couldn't help but ask. It's only been an hour since you called me, and you still called me from a public phone. At first glance, I thought it was a scam call. When she gets sleepy, her voice becomes languid. Okay, Sakakibara changed the subject. Now, we face a problem. What? I don't have enough money to buy 2 rooms in this hotel. Didn't mom give you money? Sakakihara Suzu turned sideways and covered her small bag. No. Sakakihara Suzu thought of what happened in the afternoon. Don't you have 100,000 yen? That, can't be used, I have to buy a mobile phone. Sakakihara Suzu blinked at him, brother is so stingy. Sakakihara shook his head. You can get at least 50,000 yen for narrating an animation episode, which only lasts 20 minutes. But I work in a convenience store and earn 900 an hour. I only need the usual dinner ingredients, daily necessities, firewood, rice, oil, salt, washing powder, and shower gel. I bought all your underwear last semester. What nonsense are you talking about? Sakakihara Suzu looked confused. Because that's the truth. Smelly brother, you are still angry with yourself. If you don't have enough money, then just open one. You and I sleep together? Who is it? Sakakihara Suzu crossed her arms and said, just one room, save money. Sakakihara lowered his eyes and said, then you sleep on the sofa. The wind on the streets of Tokyo suddenly turned cold. Brother, shouldn't you care more about your sister? Sakakibara Suzu shook Sakakihara Raku's arm with both hands. Her voice sounded like the cute sister in the anime begging for money from her brother. I said to you, wouldn't it be nice to spend your own money to open one? You know, I don't have that much money. Why can't I seem to hear you? Don't be angry with me. Don't be angry with you. With her straight facial features, bright eyes, and straight nose, she can be called a beautiful girl based on her background. And because of her good looks, it also gives her a little confidence. In private, she claimed to Sakakibara that she was an angel. Yes, angel. The angel who used a vest to deceive his brother for a month. Don't do this. Sakakihara smiled lightly at his coquettish sister. Seeing that he ruthlessly exposed her disguise, Sakakihara Suzu returned to her original lazy look, with her hands on her hips and a look of disgust on her face. TCH, suddenly there are two new sisters, the perverted old man must be very happy. The perversion can be removed. It shouldn't be removed, because this is Suzu. Sakakihara nodded to herself, and suddenly realized something. Why only remove the pervert? Shouldn't there be other places that should refute me? Isn't that what you said? That's not what I meant. Suzu. Sakakihara was thinking wildly and scratching her hair. Why couldn't she understand what she said? Brother is indeed an idiot, a complete idiot. Aling, do you understand? Understand what? That man. Don't look at me carelessly. Okay, our new stepfather bought us a house in Minato City. I checked, and it's about 200 million yen. What do you think this means? Rich man. That's right. Uncle Tianhai, it's obvious that he's not that simple. Why do you think he likes our mother? Who knows, it's just love. Didn't I tell you everything? What could he want from us? It's not that he wants us, but I don't understand the purpose of Uncle Tianhai and our mother's marriage. If you can't figure it out, blame it on love. It can always be explained. Love brain. Aren't you the same? The two siblings arrived at the hotel front desk amid an argument. Sir, there are only single rooms available at the moment. 2 rooms. No, just 1 room. The receptionist looked at Raku Sakakibara with a professional smile. Then just 1 room. The lady at the front desk handed over a check-in record. Okay, sir, please sign this. As long as you are over 18 years old, you can stay in a hotel alone. That being said, as long as the appearance is consistent, you don't need to check any documents to open a hotel in Japan. The other party's expression clearly indicated that he had misunderstood something. Being misunderstood is the second thing. Who would be willing to be her boyfriend if someone as lazy as Sakakihara Suzu? Alas, only a brother like himself would go home and cook for her every day. Room 5241. Sir, you can take the elevator over there to the 5th floor. If you need room service, you can call us in the room. Thank you for visiting our hotel. Putting away the room card handed over by the front desk lady, Sakakihara Raku glanced at Sakakihara Suzu's melancholy face. Let's go, don't stay stunned. The two came to the elevator entrance. Who is sleeping on the sofa? Sakakibara Suzu asked, looking at the red LED flashing next to the elevator. What else can I do? I'll sleep. It's unexpectedly heartwarming. Sakakihara looked at her. How's your work going lately? Very good. Your reply was so short, I was a little worried. It's okay. If something happened, I wouldn't be so free. We must also pay close attention to our studies. There are a lot of tests this semester. Ming's school is famous for cultivating students in an all-round way. If your grades are not good, no matter how good other grades are, you will be kicked out. I feel like you are more verbose than my mother. The elevator dinged and the heavy door opened, and Suzu Sakakihara walked out first. Sakakihara Raku followed, always looking at her. The younger sister's back looks very petite, and the half-matched coat on her shoulders makes her look a bit undisciplined. She was taller than me when she was in 6th grade, but now she is a full head shorter. Recently, she is responsible for a work that Sakakihara seems to be quite strange. My sisters are the strongest rulers in the world. She is one of the voices of the male protagonist's 5 sisters. A tall, black, and straight girl with tsundere attributes, she is also a second princess. No matter how you look at it, this is probably the light novel writer's unfounded fantasy about his sister. After all, judging from the experience of someone like Sakakihara Raku who has a girl, the kind of sister in anime, it is impossible to exist. No wonder her mother told her never to marry light novel writers and cartoonists in the future, saying that they were all homeless people. Even if a work became a hit, it was still not as reliable as an editor with an annual salary of tens of millions. When she arrived in the room, Sakakibara Suzu lay down directly on the big bed, took out her phone and started scrolling through her Twitter. What do you want to eat? Raku Sakakibara sat down on the edge of the bed, flipped through the menu just placed on the bedside, and asked Suzu Sakakibara, who was engrossed in tapping the screen with her fingers. Brother, do whatever you want. I'm telling you, be serious. This is a hotel, so you can only order something to eat. Oh, like this. Then, she stopped talking. Sure enough, he was full of energy outside, but when he got home, he was just a big white pig that knew how to eat. What can be said? Sakakihara Raku has long been used to it. Since you don't say anything, I'll just order some rice cake and fried meat. Okay. Sakakibara Suzu kept staring at the phone screen. She suddenly smiled when she saw a fan message. She seemed very happy, and her slender feet began to swing up and down on the edge of the bed. Do you have any change? Sakakihara Suzu casually pointed to the handbag next to the TV. You can take whatever you want from there. Sakakibara walked over. What are they? Sakakihara opened her handbag. Lipstick, cotton swabs, mirrors, wet wipes, sanitary napkins, perfume, keys, ids. Anyway, she stuffed everything she could use into her handbag. If you want to find money, you have to rummage for a long time with your hands. It's really out of control. Why are you so poor? It's all just scraps of money. He finally took out a crumpled wad of pocket money, but saw something very familiar. Student card. With a strange mentality in his heart, he took out his sister's student ID card, opened it and looked at it carefully. Sakakibara Suzu's student ID card. Remaining time to unlock the system, 15 hours, 23 minutes, and 31 seconds. What kind of weird thing is there? Why does this system only take effect for student ID cards? Wait a minute, it looks like there is a new mobile phone box. Just when Sakakibara wanted to take a look, Sakakihara Suzu suddenly ran down from the hotel bed barefoot and grabbed her bag. Sakakibara frowned. What? Slightly. Sakakihara Suzu was quiet for a long time, and finally she just puffed her cheeks and made a face at him. About the fact that I unintentionally raised my sister to be a cripple. Author, Wo Bulletin 11 Huan Tiu Lan. Chapter 7. The sky was clear and the morning breeze blew the soft gauze curtains by the window. The sunlight falls into the house, gradually easing the cold temperature remaining in the air at night. Sakakihara closed his eyes and reached out to fumble for his phone, but he couldn't find it after groping for a long time. He could only stand up from the sofa. The time is 8:15 on a weekend morning. Where's the cell phone? By the way, the cell phone disappeared yesterday. Suddenly realizing this, Raku Sakakibara stretched, lifted off the white quilt, put on slippers and got up. He glanced at Suzu Sakakibara, who was still sleeping on the big bed, and walked to the hotel's bathroom. After tidying up my clothes, I washed my face with half-closed eyes, and brushed my teeth with the disposable toothbrush cover provided by the hotel. He brushed aside his wet hair and looked at himself in the mirror. If I remember correctly, my mother got remarried yesterday. And he has 2 more sisters. He suddenly felt a little funny. Minato District, a house worth more than 200 million yen, he plans to spend his whole life working hard towards this goal. But in the blink of an eye, he had already bought it. Not long after he woke up, Sakakihara Raku felt that his head was not very clear. As for what happened yesterday, it was more like a dream that he had never experienced before. Ha! He yawned, threw his toothbrush into the trash can, washed his hands again, and came to Sakakihara Suzu's bedside. Sleeping in. Forget it, let her sleep for a while. Sakakibara pulled out the room card, clanged, and walked out of the door. 9:43. The sun has reached the end of the bed. Get up quickly. Get up, Sakakihara pulled the quilt off her body. Oh no, I'm so annoying. Sakakihara Suzu pulled with him for a while, then held the quilt between her white legs, turned over, and went back to sleep. So lazy. Who would have thought that this is the beautiful new girl in the voice acting world? Sakakihara took out a bun from behind and put it in front of her nose, slowly circling it. Get up quickly, get up quickly. Smelling the aroma of food, Sakakibara Suzu was fascinated. She kept raising her nose following the buns. But after following for a long time, she opened her drowsy eyes and could only see Sakakibara Suzu's indifferent face. She stretched. Okay, I understand. It's obviously the weekend. Why are you getting up so early? I'm so sleepy. She rubbed herself up, and the half-matched clothes on her upper body slipped off her shoulders, revealing a pink shoulder strap. Why are you so careless? What? Sakakibara pointed at her shoulder. Suzu Sakakihara yawned indifferently, pulled the pink strap on her shoulders and said, It doesn't matter, no one else will see it anyway. I'm not someone else. I don't even care, what do you care about? You are a girl. Also. Sakakibara held her cell phone in front of her half-open eyes. Don't you see what time it is now? Today we have to go to our new home in Minato City. Get up quickly after eating. Get dressed. Ferocious, I know. Suzu Sakakihara, who was sleeping in shorts, was sitting on the big bed, her legs were thin and white. She seemed reluctant to get up. She stretched as much as she could, pulled up the clothes on her shoulders, and then grabbed them. The steamed bun handed over by Sakakibara Raku. Why are there steamed buns? Sakakihara Suzu looked at Sakakihara Raku with shining purple eyes while eating. I ran to the breakfast shop next door to buy it. Breakfast shop? Is there such a thing in Japan? Why not? Aren't there 711 convenience stores and Family Mart convenience stores? What, she ate the buns like a hamster. Sakakihara took advantage of his boredom to carefully observe the way she was eating. This girl has grown recently. She has good facial features, a straight and small nose bridge, especially her eyes, which look surprisingly smart, and her figure is just right. It's not like she has no breasts. After all, she is still in the development stage, so there is still hope. What are you looking at? Sakakihara Suzu noticed his gaze. Look at the pigs. Sakakibara Suzu turned away when she saw several other buns in his hand, choosing not to argue with him. The time came to 1 minute before noon. On the tram, Sakakibara held the dangling ring in his hand and looked up at the numbers that continuously jumped on the screen in the carriage until it officially jumped from 11 hours 59 minutes and 59 seconds to 12 hours. Diddy. System activation, daily games begin. Earn points to get rewards by completing daily tasks. Mall to be unlocked. Achievements to be unlocked. Have obtained the Proptian Hijuli Uli's student ID card / About the fact that I unintentionally raised my sister to be a cripple. Author, Wo Buletin 11 Huan Tou Lan. Chapter 8. I almost forgot, did you promise me something? Takanawa Park, Minato-ku, Tokyo. Sakakibara Suzu stood high on the roadside flower bed and asked Sakakibara Raku at the bottom of the stairs. The hem of her skirt fluttered lightly in the wind, and the bright sun over Tokyo illuminated the girl's slender figure. The colorful sneakers under her slender legs also complemented the bright flowers in the flower bed. About the bet agreement that if I don't get a girlfriend this week, I'll do your laundry for half a year. That's right. Sakakihara Suzu nodded from above, her purple eyes locked on his face. She probably thought that standing in the flower bed would give her a sense of commanding power. But Sakakihara Raku has never forgotten that he is her brother. Do you think I would agree to that kind of thing? I have every reason to believe that you made this bet deliberately to harm me. Whether we agree or not, brother, you haven't dated a girlfriend. This is the fact. Suzu Sakakihara stretched out a finger and shook it in front of her face. She stood on the edge of the flower bed and walked slowly. When she reached the end, she gathered strength and jumped again. Arrived at the flower bed opposite. Thank you so much for reminding me. Keeping her balance with both hands, as Sakakihara Suzu squatted down, the skirt of her short skirt also stopped quietly. She turned her head and smiled. I must win anyway. There's no way you can get a girlfriend this week. The more you bring this up, the angrier I get. Haha, don't be angry, come on, smile. Sakakihara Suzu jumped down from the flower bed, poked her cheek with 2 fingers, and gave him a smile. Her smile is beautiful and bright. In fact, every time she smiled to herself like this, Sakakihara Raku felt like her fist was hitting cotton. You have been teasing me for a month. Do you know how much heartbreak and tears there are? I even bought you lipstick on Amazon for 33,333 yen. It's useless even if you try to be cute to me. Hee, I'm going to put that thing on now. Do you think it looks good? Sakakihara Suzu pointed at her lips that she just pursed. I can't tell the difference. He chose to look back and move on. Sakakihara Suzu followed him for a while. Because of her beauty, she attracted the attention of many passers-by on the road. Brother, we are allies now, Sakakihara Suzu said for no reason. The enemy is pretty much the same. It means that we are on the same front now. Our surname is Sakakibara, their surname is Tianhai, and I am the youngest. If I am bullied, brother, you must help me. It sounds like the 2 of them will bully you. Who knows? I don't know why. Anyway, I just think it will be very bad after the 2 of them come. Raku Sakakibara turned his head, just in time to find Suzu Sakakibara smiling and pointing the screen of the phone with the rabbit phone case at him. Above is a text message from an agent. The general meaning is that she has work and needs her to go and record now. My weekend job should be recording animated radio dramas or something. Sakaki Hararaku was not surprised by this. Ever since she joined the agency Word one day in the first year of junior high school, she had often left suddenly due to work. I really have work to do now, so if you want to see your new home, you have to go alone. Sakaki Harasuzu's expression suddenly became serious. Also, you must never open my box. The more you talk, the more curious I become. You can't open it anyway. Sakakibara took a closer look at the timestamp of the text message. 11:02. You were going to work. Why didn't you tell me in the car? You didn't tell me until we were almost in the port area. I won't tell you. She put away her phone. Actually, the voice actor industry is quite aristocratic. Suzu Sakakibara put her hands in her pockets and said as she walked, my parents work in well-known companies, the daughter of a government official, the daughter of an entrepreneur, and the daughter of a highly respected voice actor senior in the industry. Like me. How can a person born as a commoner compare with them if he doesn't work hard? How can he integrate into their circle? She tilted her head and stared at Sakakibara for a while. Suddenly, as if taking out a gift, she took out a brand new mobile phone from the small bag behind her and placed it in front of him. General. Happy. For me, Sakakihara discovered that it was the latest model of the same model as his broken mobile phone. What else? Suzu Sakakihara grabbed his hand and put the phone directly into his hand, leaving no room for him to refuse. I've also arranged the mobile phone card for you. I originally wanted to give it to you yesterday, but it's so annoying. Today, we have steamed buns to eat, which is not bad. I was annoying yesterday? You have to understand that I was the one who was deceived yesterday. But thank you anyway. Well, you don't need to worry about such details. I asked you to turn over money yesterday and you almost saw it. In fact, I have seen it a long time ago. However, Sakaki Hararaku knew that his sister would actually give him a mobile phone in person. It's really, a bit warm. Sakaki Harasuzu stopped and tilted her head slightly to smile at him. Then let's say goodbye here, don't miss me. If we see you every day, I won't miss you. I knew that was the answer, bro, it's not funny at all. Also, Sakakibara Suzu's expression suddenly became a little melancholy. I can't fully accept the two of them now. You can't be partial. When you see someone who is beautiful, you don't even want your own sister. I'm not that kind of person. In the end, she showed a cute sister-like smile, then I'll go to work first. Well, go ahead. In this way, when Sakaki Harasuzu reached the end of the street, she turned around and smiled at him. When she turned around again, her figure quickly disappeared into the intersection where vehicles passed. Raku Sakakihara stood under the Zelkova tree on the street. The sunlight filtered through the treetops, casting a green shadow on his arms. He looked at the brand new mobile phone in his hand, pressed the power button with his finger, and the classic Apple logo quickly flashed on the screen. He actually bought me a new mobile phone. She is probably still using 10th generation phones now, but she is actually willing to buy 13 Pro for herself. She has been clamoring to buy it, but she has been reluctant to spend so much money. How much money can she, a young voice actress, make for one appearance? It would be nice to buy snacks for yourself. But now it seems that she saved the money and bought herself this. It seemed like this was the most precious gift she had ever given herself. Sakakibara laughed out loud. She was really a stinky girl. Shirogane Takanawa 3 Chome, Minato-ku. Raku Sakakibara came to an apartment building. From the dozens of stories in height, you can tell that this is a quite high-end apartment. It is also close to Tokyo Bay, where you can see Tokyo Tower and the yachts on Tokyo Bay. A few days ago, I was still living in an old and small one-family building, but now I have to live in a sea view room like this. A new home, a new sister, and a new stepfather. All these things were on Sakakibara's mind. Following the message his sister had just forwarded to him, he took the elevator to the 16th floor and walked to a half-open door. The door was not closed, and there was wind and light in the gap between the door and the doorframe. Sakakibara knocked on the door twice. When no one responded, he pushed the door open and entered. The living room is quite large, and you can see the sea view of Tokyo Bay through the transparent floor-to-ceiling windows when you enter. There were boxes from the moving company near the coffee table and sofa, some of which had been opened. Inside were some skirt-style clothes, and there was an inexplicable fragrance wafting in front of them. Sakakibara changed his shoes at the entrance and walked to the living room. As soon as he raised his head, he saw a beautiful girl standing in the wind. The girl stood on the balcony, looking at the seascape in the distance. The city and Tokyo Bay outlined the outline of her face. The sunlight through the clouds made her flaxen hair shine. She just stood in the sea breeze facing her, looking at the sea and sky in the harbor from a distance. Her straight figure was like an exquisite display in a gift shop, and her hair was as light and beautiful as dandelions swaying above the city. Kurayuri, Sakakibara couldn't tell the two sisters apart at all, so he tentatively shouted based on his current impression. The girl heard the voice and turned around. Her bright sky blue eyes passed through the floor-to-ceiling windows of the balcony, and her long hair caressed by the sea breeze was incredibly beautiful. "That's my sister. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. About the fact that I unintentionally raised my sister to be a cripple." Author, Wo Buletin 11 Huan Tou Lan. Chapter 9. Why do you keep staring at me? Nice to meet you, I am Tian Hai Kaiming Yu. The girl's hands were clasped in front of her pleated skirt, and her actions showed maturity and common sense. But this action was like the first time the two met. "Didn't we meet yesterday? But this is the first time you and I have met alone. It's a pleasure to meet you. I am Tian Hai Kaiming Yu," the girl's clear voice repeated. Sakakibara hesitated. "Nice to meet you. I was originally worried about what I would do if the person I wanted to live with in the future was ugly or a pervert. From yesterday to now, my impression of you, brother, is pretty good. Is your stepsister a beauty addict? Also, is her title too ancient? Generally, it is not always called old brother, old brother. If it is a little more formal, call brother." Sakakibara has long wanted to complain. Tian Hai Kaiming Yu saw the watch on his wrist that his father gave him yesterday. "Just now, brother, you admitted that my sister and I were wrong for the first time. In order to cause unnecessary trouble in the future, I think it is necessary for you, brother, to understand the difference between me and my sister." Sakakibara thought this request was reasonable. "Please tell me." "The first is my sister, Tian Hai Julie Yulai. From top to bottom, she is 82, 56, and 84. Wait, Sakakibara has never heard of using body measurements to distinguish people. "Do you understand?" the girl said calmly. "This simple number can't explain any difference at all." "Well." Sakakibara suddenly noticed that the girl in front of him was looking at him with strange eyes. "What's wrong? The assessment passed." "What's the meaning?" Tian Hai Kaiming Yu held her chin and looked at him with interest. "Sister is a beautiful girl, right? I don't deny this, but what does that have to do with what you just said?" "I noticed that my brother often looked at my sister, so I told her my sister's measurements to see my brother's reaction. No matter how perverted I am, I will not be interested in the figure of a sister I have just met for a day." Sakakibara thought to herself, why Chi Minjiu has a weird personality and speech. No, she was weird to begin with. That's not necessarily true. It's normal for men to be lustful. When we first met, my brother looked at my sister more than once. I always feel like I've seen you somewhere before, and it feels familiar to me. Oh? You mean at the station? No. Sakakibara took another look at the expressionless Sanwoo face of Tianhai Kaimingyu, and shook his head. What is that? I can't tell either. Sakaki Hararaku didn't want to talk to Nanamijiu. Firstly, because she had just met Nanamayu, talking to her too much always gave her a strange sense of distance. But Chi Minjiu has a very weird personality and always says strange things. Sakaki Hararaku also always felt that her sky blue eyes often looked at him, which made him particularly uncomfortable. Tianhai Kaimingyu crossed her arms and withdrew her gaze. She waved her knife. As people who have to get along with each other on a daily basis in the future, I think it is necessary to draw appropriate boundaries between my brother and me. Doesn't this start to exclude yourself from the very beginning? It's normal, since he is a strange male after all. How to draw a line? For example, don't stand so far away from me. I'm scary. What kind of drawing of a line is this? Ale is here, where is the bell? Miwa Sakakihara's voice interrupted the conversation between the two. She walked out of the bedroom wearing an apron for cleaning the room. She was wandering around the living room when she spotted Raku Sakakihara on the balcony, so she asked him aloud. She has something to do at her office. Sakakihara turned around and said. It's work again. This kid seems to be a lot busier recently. Mrs. Sakakibara sounded a little worried for her, but when she saw Sakakibara Raku and Amamai Nanamajetsu chatting happily, she also breathed a sigh of relief and smiled. We get along very well. Mrs. Sakakibara blinked. Nanamai might not be able to tell, but Sakakibara knew that her mother's look was a hint that she wanted to leave a good impression on the other person. I understand that men can take the initiative to help, right? Sakakihara Raku surrendered. Ale, go and move the boxes in the living room into those two rooms. Sakakihara Raku's eyes followed. This house is quite large, with 5 bedrooms, 1 living room, 2 bathrooms, and a utility room. The open kitchen is coupled with a light-transmitting balcony. The place faces Tokyo Bay and the air is quite fresh. The 2 bedrooms were connected together, on either side, and that was where my mother was pointing. It should be the twin sisters' room. In fact, in a situation like this, if a family has 4 children, it would be more affordable to buy a house and build a house in Tokyo. As for why Uncle Tianhai chose a high-rise luxury apartment, one is because the seaside scenery is good, and the other is because he is rich and willful. The area of Platinum Takanawa is really ridiculously expensive. This big house is 3 times more expensive than the 200 million yen he imagined. Where are these places where rich people live? Chi Minjiu and Julie Yulai are really the eldest ladies of a family. Sakakihara Raku feels more and more that he and they will not get along in the future. Which room is this? Sakakihara picked up the box designated by his mother. Mrs. Sakakibara glanced towards the corridor of the bedroom and said. The room inside belongs to Chi Minjiu, and the room outside belongs to Julie Yulai. Their boxes have their own stickers. Please be careful not to carry them by mistake. Okay. Sakakibara looked at the shark sticker mark on the box and thought, that strange girl still likes sharks? Knowing that it belonged to Tianhai Kaimingyu, she moved the box into the back room. I also finished transporting the boxes of Tianhai Julie Yulai, and after a few busy trips back and forth, I finally finished them all. Weekly routine, tidying up housework minus 300 points, completed. The reward has been distributed, please check it carefully. Ale, come here. What's wrong? He was preparing to wash his hands in the restroom. When he saw his mother waving to him secretly in the bedroom, Sakakibara walked over. What's your impression of your 2 new sisters? Pretty good. Mom still wants to apologize to you and Ailing for remarrying. Fine. I know, Ale, your child has been very reliable since he was a child. Now that we have a new home, I want to tell you more about the situation. Your Uncle Tianhai and I are both very busy with work. Except late at night, our schedules are basically off schedule. Chi Minjiao and Julie Yulai are not very good at cooking. Your sister, you also know the situation. I have a sister and a house, and my parents are busy. Emotions themselves are really the template for the protagonist. When his mother said this, Sakakibara understood. Don't worry, Mom, I will take good care of them. Mrs. Sakakibara smiled and said, I'm not asking you to take good care of them, but I hope you can get along well. Don't resist them too much. How about taking them out to eat when you have time? Do you need money? Now you want, just tell me whatever you want. What kind of money should I give you? It's too outrageous. Mom, just give me your usual living expenses. Ale. Ah. What's wrong? Mom's voice suddenly became much more solemn. Sometimes I often wonder, if it weren't for you, I would have jumped into Tokyo Bay with Suzu in my arms. Miwa Sakakihara remembered that in the middle of the night, her son would still say words of encouragement to his mother. It's so humbling to think about now. Sakakihara was silent for a long time. Mom, let's not talk about the past. I don't blame you for getting married. After all, it's not that Aling and I don't know about your relationship with Uncle Tianhai, we just don't have much information. I feel relieved now that you guarantee me. Sakakihara Miwa is a very strong woman. When her husband disappeared with a huge bonus, she didn't say anything. She gritted her teeth and managed to survive in Tokyo, a city with high prices and rents, and she also provided for her 2 children to go to high school. Sakakibara Raku has always been considerate of his mother, so he does most of the things at home and taking care of his sister. His cooking skills and housework were all developed in these 10 years. Well, don't blame Mom for being too verbose. Some things need to be told several times. You have just met Chi Minjiao and Julie Yulai, so it must be a little strange to get along with each other, but you are both brothers and sisters now, and you are the eldest brother. You have to show some courage. Oh. No problem, Raku Sakakibara echoed his mother's momentum. Good boy, well, go wash your hands quickly, please. He is so polite to his own son. This is probably why my mother feels guilty about herself. Okay, Sakakibara agreed. Very capable, brother seems very reliable. This was the compliment from Tianhai Kaimingyu on the balcony after helping her move her things. It's just a few boxes. It's not like you didn't move anything in. Sakakihara Raku just washed his hands and came out of the bathroom. Why didn't you see your uncle and your sister? Tianhai Kaimingyu's sky blue eyes blinked. They went out to buy deodorant, and also bought some laundry and shower gel. It's weird. What's weird? Sakakihara Raku found that Tianhai Kaimingyu had been looking at him with his eyes. Brother actually doesn't smell of cologne. Not every man spends money on perfume. Sakakihara Raku felt that her expression was a little natural at this time. Couldn't she be a natural idiot? No, 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 judging from the attitude of teasing my sister yesterday, she is completely shady. It just needs to be verified. But soon, Tianhai Kaimingyu's expression returned to calm, and she stood quietly in place, like a beautiful glass craft. The tranquil temperament on her body, coupled with her beauty that needs no words at all, will put an invisible pressure on people's hearts. Speaking of which, I don't know about your mother yet. My sister and I's mother, she is still alive. If my brother wants to ask her why she divorced her father, Chi Minjiao can only say that her father and mother are both workaholics, and they are too far apart, so they ended up having a bad relationship. Where's dinner? How do you usually deal with it? Sakakihara thought of his mother saying that they were not good at cooking. Dad rarely comes home in the afternoon and eats lunch boxes from convenience stores. My sister has learned to cook some dishes, but they are not very delicious. Can my brother cook? I know a little bit. I feel like my brother is so reserved when he speaks. It's just that I'm still a little used to it. So, do you want to shake hands? Tian Haikimingyu quietly handed over his hand, probably sensing that he couldn't understand what he meant, and then explained. Shaking hands can promote the relationship between Chi Minjiu and her brother, and it is also a polite way. This explanation was barely convincing to Sakaki Hararaku. He looked down and then stretched out his hand, holding the little hand that was so white that it seemed to be shining. The coolness of ice, the softness and compactness, this is the first time Sakaki Hararaku has experienced such a special and delicate touch. Tian Haikimingyu, brother, the way of shaking hands is wrong. It should be palm to palm. Hearing her reminder, Sakaki Hara clenched his little hand a little tighter, palm to palm. The feeling of holding each other like this is very strange. The girl's hands are slightly cold, but they are as delicate and soft as if they have no bones. Time passed by, and the air became visibly tense. Then, Sakakibara took the initiative to let go of his hand. Ahem. For some reason, he suddenly wanted to cough twice, and the delicate and cold feeling was still slowly spreading out between his palms. But why does Chi Minjiu keep holding on to herself? Do you want to do something evil to yourself? When he turned around again and faced the girl standing on the balcony, he found that Tian Haikimingyu was looking at him with her beautiful eyes. She stared at herself for a long time, giving Sakakibara an indescribable feeling. What's wrong? Tian Haikimingyu looked at him silently for a long time, then withdrew her gaze in silence and spoke calmly and calmly. As expected, my brother is a man who likes beautiful girls. The girl's voice was as small as the breeze, but every word could be conveyed clearly. It wasn't until this moment that Sakaki Hararaku realized it. It turns out that everything she did just now was to prove what she said before, that she was not interested in body shape. That's absolutely right, she is not natural. She is a completely evil girl. So, for me, brother, are you willing to be my sister's boyfriend? What does this mean? Sakaki Hara was stunned. Tian Haikimingyu smiled delicately. This is to help my sister, and also to help me. What? About the fact that I unintentionally raised my sister to be a cripple. Author, Wo Bulletin 11 Huan Tou Lan. Chapter 10. A new home represents a new atmosphere, which is naturally a good thing. Mom is happily married, Aling has her own pursuits, and everyone can live in a spacious and comfortable modern apartment during their breaks. There is air conditioning that can be turned on at any time, a tall refrigerator, a balcony, and an unobstructed view of Tokyo Bay. The living room and dining room no longer share the same table. Owning such a comfortable house was Sakaki Hara's dream that was once out of reach, but when this dream really came to him, he suddenly found that he was not so happy. That night, Aling returned home. As expected, she felt unusually novel about everything in front of her, looking around at the new furniture. What a big refrigerator! What a big sofa! What a bright living room! Every room has air conditioning, that's great. There is also a bathtub. Hot water is available as soon as it is turned on. Finally, we no longer have to use the same toilet with several households on the floor. Sakaki Hara walked around in circles, and then put his hands on the floor-to-ceiling glass outside the living room. From here, you can overlook the entire city of Tokyo, see Tokyo Tower shining in orange in the distance, and see the dazzling neon city below. At first glance, this view looks like a high-end apartment. At such a high place, the glass won't suddenly break and then fall, right? Sakaki Hara smiled and said, how can it be so easy to break? But this place is really big, with 4 bedrooms, a living room, a study room and a utility room. The kitchen and bathroom are separated, so he doesn't have to rush a ling to wash up while cooking, so that he can have a place to wash vegetables. I also have a separate room, a big bed, a desk, and a bookshelf. I no longer have to sit on the floor with Aling and use the bed as a desk to do homework. There's even a floor-to-ceiling window and small terrace on the sunny side. He also likes this new environment. How do you feel about this new home? Mom saw that the brother and sister were particularly interested in this new home, so she walked out of the open kitchen and came to the balcony to ask. Awesome, Suzu Sakakihara put her hands on the guardrail of the balcony, her face facing the evening breeze. It's obvious that she enjoys it here. Sakakibara noticed his sister's expression. What about Aeli? Mom asked him again. It's very good compared to his sister's happiness, Sakakibara replied a little absent-mindedly. Miwa Sakakihara stopped on the balcony and turned around. She looked at the bright living room. She was very happy and said with emotion, "This will be our new home from now on." Home. Speaking of this, some things that should have been forgotten came to Sakakihara's mind. Mom is happy now, right? Someone who is willing to love her again, and a brand new home. How much does this house cost? Sakakihara asked. More than 600 million yen, Mom replied. So expensive? If my hourly salary is 1,000 yen, how long will it take? Sakakihara Suzuya turned around and asked. It will take a total of 70 years to work 24 hours a day without eating or drinking, Raku Sakakihara answered. At the end of the answer, even he himself fell silent. Isn't it a bit exaggerated? Mom asked with a smile. It is indeed an exaggeration. This is money that cannot be collected in a lifetime. 600 million. This house, this money, I need to spend my life's energy to pursue. And Uncle Tianhai seemed to be able to buy this house without much effort. While he was happy, he suddenly felt a little lost. What does Ale seem to be thinking about? No, it's nothing. Sakakibara was just confused. The goal he had been striving for day and night was now under his feet. Although it was not something he had bought with his own efforts, there was no doubt that he was among them. But the goals have been achieved, so if you take this as your goal in life, wouldn't your motivation just disappear? Day and night, I kept using ringtones to remind myself not to sleep. I gave up all entertainment and refused anything that was a waste of time. I only kept Kyoto, where I could get bonuses, as an extra activity. What on earth were I working on? After all the hard work, it's not as good as Uncle Tianhai's wave of his hand. Have you really learned a lot over the years? Sakakihara Raku looked at his mother and sister communicating in front of him, and fell into confusion. The next day, Sakakihara woke up from exhaustion. He stared blankly at the ceiling. There were countless books on the desk beside his bed. Last night he stayed up late studying until the early hours of the morning. In a sudden dream, he dreamed of his previous life yesterday. With 8 houses in a first-tier city, he can have enough to eat without even having to work. Although he is alone, although his parents never care about him, although the meaning of his life in the first half of his life is archery, although this period is quite short, although his parents just want him to be famous and don't care about what he likes. Haha, I was really happy in my previous life. Sakakibara smiled and couldn't stop laughing. He was deeply impressed by the unnoticed self in his previous life. Although he was rich, he never had any real friends. Even if his parents died in an accident, they were probably shirking responsibility and blaming each other for not taking good care of him. As for friends in life, they are all just friendly friends who can only compliment each other. They can still go out and have fun, but it takes a real heart-to-heart talk for Sakakibara to realize that their values are very different. Therefore, compared to the previous life, I had no worries about food and clothing. Sakakihara Raku prefers this life, caring about his mother, and having a sister who was particularly attached to him when he was a child. Although we are poor, even though we often don't even have a piece of tofu to eat, our family is still there, and our people are still here. We support each other, make progress, and work hard to achieve today's life. Mom and Aling gave me the meaning of life and the goal of life. But now, my goal is to let my mother and sister live a happy life and let them live in a big house. What should be done? Unable to figure it out, Sakakibara turned over and sat up from the bed. He tidied up the messy homework on his desk, then opened the bedroom door and walked out. Sakakibara-kun. Sakakihara was startled, and then he saw the girl who opened the door opposite him at the same time as him. The new sister is right in front of her, and she is a rare and beautiful girl with sky blue eyes and long flaxen hair. We had just met her 2 days ago and were still strangers, but now we were treating her like family. I'm afraid she was also embarrassed by the sudden addition of a brother. Sakakihara wanted to open his mouth and shout the girl's name, but looking at that beautiful little face, Sakakihara realized that he couldn't tell who was who between the two of them. Good morning, Kishin Haisang. There was silence for a moment. Good morning, I'm actually Julie Yulai. It was actually seen. Sakakihara Raku was in an awkward situation. Do you feel a little restrained, Sakakibara-kun? Yeah. Tianhai Julie Yulai nodded and closed the door behind her. She bowed politely and said, I'm really sorry for knocking off your phone. This gentle action is such a high level of self-cultivation. Fine. That's good. Tianhai Julie Yulai clasped his hands in front of him and smiled nicely. Besides, I think we can also chat or something, and the tone doesn't need to be so polite. After all, my father and aunt also asked me to try please spend more time with Sakakibara-kun. Tianhai Kaimingyu seemed to have said yesterday that she was very restrained. He didn't have any communication difficulties, but he felt that he couldn't find anything to talk about with these two conspicuous beauties, so he simply didn't speak. Moreover, Julie Yulai's temperament is so outstanding that she cannot be ignored whether in school or in real life. There is still a certain amount of pressure in talking to such people. Well, it's mainly because I can't find anything to talk about with you. Is that so? I'm sorry, Sakakibara-kun, Tianhai Juri asked cautiously, did I leave a bad impression on you because of what happened the day before yesterday? No, Sakakihara shook his head. So Sakakihara-kun, just now? I'm really just thinking about what topic I should use to chat with you. So that's the case, then I'm relieved. Tianhai Julie Yulai smiled again. If possible, I think we should find an opportunity to get to know each other in a real sense. After all, everyone lives under the same roof now. I agree with this. Not surprisingly, the topic ended like this. Sakakihara Raku didn't know what he was talking about with Jurulai until he finished chatting with her. Tianhai Julie Yulai seems to be very good at talking to people, and she often shows a nice smile when talking, which makes people feel that she is a very approachable and beautiful girl. Everyone likes her, but Sakakihara Raku thinks her gentleness is a bit weird, giving people a sense of distance, like I can talk to you, but you can only stand there. It seems that it is because everyone is a stranger. Compared to Amamai Kururi, her twin sister, Amamai Nanamajetsu, who has exactly the same face, feels much more normal to Sakakibara Raku. Raku Sakakibara met her later in the wash session. He was looking for something in front of the sink because he didn't take out Aling's facial cleanser. Brother, did you not buy facial cleanser? Yes, I usually use my sister's. Here, use mine. Sakakibara looked at the facial cleanser in his hand, a little surprised. Are you so familiar with it? Tianhai Kaimingyu took back the hand that held out the facial cleanser and looked at him without any expression. It's normal behavior to use facial cleanser for your brother. That's right. Now that my father has married my aunt, I have to admit this fact even if I don't want to admit it. Besides, my brother is good looking and I like him very much. It was quiet for a while. Brother, won't you consider yesterday's request? Tian Haikaimingu asked. Sakakibara shook his head and refused. I have no reason to help you prank your sister. Brother, don't you want a girl like my sister as your girlfriend? No, she is my stepsister. What about stepsisters? Can't stepsisters date? Cannot. Brother is so decisive in returning to the Jedi. After awkwardly spending some time together in the bathroom, each doing their own thing, Raku Sakakibara could say that he had watched the whole process of Tenkai Nanami getting up early to wash up. Different from her usual eccentricity, Tian Haikaimingu is very quiet and gentle when doing these things, always slowly, and the handkerchief she used after washing her face is hung squarely. The long flaxen hair and sky blue eyes that are completely different from ordinary people also look particularly bright and beautiful. Just looking at them will make you feel the freshness of early spring. Uncle Tianhai should be from Tokyo, right? But why do the two sisters have this hair color and eye color? Is the mother a foreigner? Sakakihara Raku felt himself becoming more and more curious about them. Tian Haikaimingu took off the waterproof wristband on her wrist that was used to block the water flow. Speaking of which, my brother seems to be 2 years older than my sister Chan. Why are they still in the same grade? Sakakibara explained, well, originally I should have gone to school at that time, but because I moved to Tokyo from my hometown, my father was very unhappy with the elderly in the family at that time, and the situation was not very stable, so I temporarily not on. Tokyo? Did you move to Tokyo suddenly? Tianhai Chi Minjiu asked again. Yes, Raku Sakakibara felt as if she knew something from Nanami's eyes. At that time, my father was determined to come to Tokyo to work hard and couldn't stay in his hometown anymore, so he took the family to Shinjuku despite his family's objections. Originally, the plan was for me to go to a public school nearby, but considering Aling and the rent and living expenses at that time, my parents who were busy looking for jobs postponed the matter. It happened that Aling was about to enter the first grade. And because I kept forgetting things when I was a child, I was delayed by a year after being checked in the hospital, so we simply postponed it until Aling and I were in the same school year and entered school together. They also have to worry a lot. At that time, he went to school a year late and was greeted by people in the community. He was also suspected of being abused by his parents. If he hadn't been checking for amnesia at that time, he might have had to go to school separately from his sister. Nanami calmly listened to Sakakibara Raku's explanation. Indeed, having brothers and sisters together does make parents feel more at ease. I have 2 more questions. Where in Shinjuku did my brother move to? It's just near the Kanda River, a very ordinary residential area. Why are you asking this? I'm just curious. Tian Haikaimingu remained expressionless as always. What's the matter with always forgetting things? The problems I had when I was a child are gone now. Sakakihara just felt weird in his heart, but he couldn't see any clues. As for why he was always forgetful when he was a child, Sakakihara Raku has always had a guess. He guessed that it was because the brain of a young child who had not yet developed at that time could not hold so many memories from the previous life, and the capacity was not enough, which resulted in the newly generated memories being unable to be filled in. Speaking of which, Sakakihara Raku's impression of the scene when he was born became increasingly blurry. This should be some kind of natural law. It seems that my brother is a brother who has no memory. Why does it sound like you are scolding me? I will be unhappy about this. I'm just stating the facts. Besides, I still respect you, brother. Why? Sakakibara was curious. The feeling of Chi Minjiu was that of a distant and mysterious feeling to her. She seemed to be keeping a certain distance from herself, and at the same time, she seemed to be deliberately getting closer to herself. After all, I am the first brother in my life. I also want to try to get along with this suddenly extra brother, so. Amami Nanami raised her sky blue eyes and looked at Sakakibara Raku's face. After staring at him for a while, he bowed politely and said, I will ask my brother for more advice from now on. There is no doubt that such a formal gesture made Sakakibara subconsciously correct his attitude and return the favor. Please give me your advice. A little uncomfortable. Chi Minjio's movements were so polite, like a well-educated young lady. But Uncle Tianhai is so rich. Strictly speaking, Kiju is indeed a lady, right? The kind who is polite, knowledgeable, and cultivated. Asterisk. Two sisters have moved into a new home, although they have different attitudes toward themselves. But judging from the results, Sakakibara believes that his life has not changed. Still get up, call my sister to get up, make breakfast, and then go to school. School canteen. Daily, lunch, completed. The reward has been distributed, please check it carefully. Sakakibara took the barbecued pork in the bowl and ate it, taking a look at his current savings. Existing points, 1,250. Current deposit, 73,525 yen. There is still a certain gap between the 500,000 yen required to open flower notes too. Sakakibara, why do you feel like you have no energy in the past 2 days? Is it? Yes, you used to be a study fanatic, holding your book and chewing on it every day. Do you know what the classmates around you think of you? Sakakibara raised his eyes and looked at his classmate named Fujino Yoshiyuki. He really didn't know this question. Just 2 words, outrageous. When others are playing ball, you study, when others are out of class, you study, when others go home after school, you still make up lessons for yourself. Fujino, life depends on hard work. Children from poor families like me can enter the school only because of hard work. But there must be a limit to your efforts. You have received letters of confession before. Youth waits for no one. I have seen countless people complain about their high school days after they started working. Why dash? Fujino. Directly ahead, 4 o'clock direction. Where, Fujino Yoshiyuki immediately left Sakakibara Raku and turned his eyes to the canteen queue like a scout. At the end of the crowded crowd, he saw a female high school student wearing the iconic blue and black suit uniform of Mitoku Junior High School. The other person is holding a book, has blue highlights, light pink eyes, and is quite quiet. The data from top to bottom is 84, 61, 87. He has a good figure. Why are his eyes pink? Are the contact lenses 84 too small? Idiot, because your waist is so slender, your breasts will be bigger than you think after you take off your clothes. It's totally undesirable to just look at the bust size. How do you classify this time? Soft custard-shaped B cup. Oh, Master Nishijima is so awesome. Fujino Yoshiyuki pointed his thumbs up at his glasses with a smile on his face. What about the track and field senior we saw running on the playground this morning? Yes, I think I saw 2 twins coming from the first class this morning. Twin. Sakakibara wiped his mouth with a napkin, tapped his fingers on the table, and interrupted the 2 of them directly. Let me tell you, besides looking at women and eating, do you 2 guys do anything else? Fujino Yoshiyuki and Nishijima Oi looked at each other. You're right, Sakakibara-san, we shouldn't be so decadent. Yes, life is not only about women and food, but also about dreams and hard work. We have repented after your teachings. Repented. Now that we know our mistakes, we will work hard to correct these bad habits. Sakakibara glanced at the 2 guys with their heads lowered. It's good to know. In the past, I only knew how to eat, but now I can eat 5 bowls in one meal. In the past, I only knew how to look at the measurements of beautiful girls. Now I'm wondering why I didn't save the data I saw before. Alas. The 2 guys sighed in unison. picked up the bowls, and ate the food slowly, as if they were truly repenting. Raku Sakakibara gave the two of them a look. High school students mostly suffer from Chuyunibu. Wait a minute, Fujino said suddenly, Nishijima, you guy didn't save the data you visually inspected before. Why should I keep those? Do you really think I'm a pervert? You really didn't save it? Come on, that's the cup encyclopedia of all the girls in the school. Do you know how much this thing can sell for on a campus forum? Please, you still want to sell it? Those girls will stab you to death if they don't come back. The two started to quarrel again. Well. Sakakibara could only sigh, almost believing them. Asterisk. After lunch, the first period of Monday afternoon was physical education, and Raku Sakakihara was going to the classroom to take a nap. Passing through the atrium of the school and arriving at the bottom of the teaching building, the sunlight filtered through the leaves and dyed the entire corridor a layer of mottled green. Suddenly losing his goal, he was like a deflated ball, lacking motivation. He felt like he was just a sloth with no direction at all times. He could only hang on a sunny tree, staring blankly at some distant place in the world, letting time go by. Brother, how about a visit to the literature club? After receiving the message on his phone, Sakakibara took it out and took a look at it, and found that it was a text message sent to him by Amamai Nanamai. When did she know her mobile phone number? Do you want to join the literature club? Ah, it's not true brother, you will know after you come here. Sakakibara took back the phone. Okay, I can just stay here and watch the sun with nothing to do. Since Ji Minjia wanted to go to the literature department on her own, she went along to check it out. Raku Sakakibara walked through the teaching building, walked past the stadium, and arrived at the club building of Mitoku Private High School. He remembered seeing the literature club when he joined the club before. It seemed to be on the 5th floor. After climbing several stairs, he came to a door with the logo of the Department of Literature. This is it. He knocked on the door. I haven't waited for anyone to say please come in. A quiet girl with a book in her arms opened the door and suddenly walked out, almost bumping into Sakakibara Raku. Hug, sorry, the girl was obviously startled, took a step back, and then bowed her head slightly to him. Sakakibara took a closer look. She has blue hair, light pink eyes, and is a quiet girl. This is not 84, 61, 87. These strings of numbers popped into Sakakihara's mind subconsciously. Have you been brainwashed by those two guys? Sakakibara shook his head, getting rid of these random thoughts, and added a belated it's okay. Excuse me, why did you come to the literature department? The quiet girl held her book and composed herself. Sakakibara looked inside. I'm here to see your minister. Are you joining the club? The girl's eyes revealed an inexplicable brilliance called hope, and she hugged the books in her arms tighter. Not really. Sakakihara Raku's casual words seemed to push the girl into the abyss, and she left the literature club dejectedly. After the quiet girl left, Raku Sakakibara then walked into the club classroom of the literature club. The furnishings in the literature department are quite crowded. The room was filled with bookshelves, desks, folders, dusty cardboard boxes piled in the corners, and cactus that looked like it was about to wither and lose its luster. Sakakihara glanced at the furnishings in the literature club one by one, and then saw a girl by the window. The spring breeze blew the curtains, and the girl stood quietly by the window, wearing gold-rimmed glasses and holding a book. Her exquisite facial features, slim figure, special eye color and hair color make her full of bright colors. She spotted Raku Sakakibara at the door, turned her gaze, and looked at the door with her indifferent sky blue eyes.